sound good?
Be a little louder.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Smith Radio, along with your host, Brian Smith, and
Kerry Smith.
Giving you all the late-breaking details of the week, wrapping it all up, making sense of it all, helping you out. So when you get to work Monday morning and you got those coworkers that are a little lefty, little liberals.
You mean they're not right-handed?
No, they're sympathizers. You'll know how to take them. You'll know how to talk to them, combat them, put them down, lift them up, do whatever you feel like doing.
You got to break them down before you build them back up.
Okay. Just
FYI.
And this is the show that will teach you how to break them down shotgun style, not AK-47 style.
Double barrel
shotgun style, and put them back up. Have you ever seen that one Tom and Jerry cartoon where he pulls out a pump shotgun and it has a tire pump? It has a tire pump on it, and he pumps it.
I did not. It's not quite ringing a bell. I remember several cartoons from back in the day with the shotguns and stuff.
Could you imagine a gun that had a pump on it like that?
I remember one with it. Which one had the elephant gun?
Oh, that's when they went hunting for elephant.
They did?
Yeah. Tom and Jerry were on. Well, Tom was on a safari with this older, round.
Yeah, the big guy.
Right, and he strapped a box on the top of an elephant who was one big giant round ball and had these tiny little feet.
Yeah, those were the later episodes of Tom and Jerry that just don't really work for me.
Anyway, didn't work for me either.
So what's the date? And
right. I don't know. I always forget that. Today is November 15th, 2015. So if you're listening on iHeartRadio, this isn't live. But if you're listening to us on smithradio.com at 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock on Sunday evening, Eastern Standard Time, you can call in and give us your opinion at 772-49-SMITH, SMYTH. If we like it, we might keep you on. If we don't like it, you might hear click. Bzzz, if that means
I'm not sure if you would hear it or not, but you certainly. We have several safety measures.
Oh, we have all kinds of safety measures.
We need cascading failures in order for things to not work out, which very well could happen.
Right. So, obviously, in the news and the title of the show, as you can well see it, just as much as everybody else can, that we honestly believe, and we'll explain it to you, how Europe has made its bed and France is now lying in it.
We're trying to sleep in it. Something to that effect. So we had some terrorist attack this weekend. Was it Friday?
Yeah, it started on Friday. The irony of all that, and we'll come to this later on in the show, Obama was on ABC News in the morning just before the terrorist attacks.
And what is there significance to that, or is it just coincidence?
He was talking about ISIS.
Uh-oh. Do you have a soundbite?
I do. He steps in it.
Well, let's hear it. Do you have it queued up, or you got a minute?
You're going to get me, aren't you?
Well, we just started the show. We got to get this thing rolling. All right, so France had this attack this weekend. Multiple attacks in multiple different locations, all simultaneously. At this point in time, this is such fresh news. They're up to 129 dead with 350 injured. But, I mean, at first, I think they were under 100, and they were just trying to count up the casualty rate.
Right.
And there may have been some people that died hours later, maybe even a day or two later. So that's why the death toll keeps going up. And basically what happened was a bunch of these Trojan horse members decided to act out a terrorist attack, just like we freaking have been saying on Smith Radio from day one. And we're not the one that broke that. I mean, it was so obvious. Anybody with half a brain could see that that was a very real risk. And ISIS, I don't know if they're stupid or if they know that we are that stupid. When they sent the refugees over, they didn't even send women and children. I don't know if they're stupid. Oh, what was that?
Technical difficulties,
Wow.
Mr. Producer. Calm
We got
down.
the remix version. So, yeah, basically what happened was when the Syrian refugees started pouring west towards Western Europe, there were no women and children, and there were no old people. It was all fighting age males. And I shouldn't say all. There were a couple women, children, old people dotted in, but the numbers were overwhelming. Like,
Right.
what's with this age group? What's with this demographic of people who are fleeing Syria? And the only excuse I heard, which to me was complete BS, was that, well, these are the people that are most targeted by the kill squads.
Right.
Why do I keep hearing a feedback of myself?
It won't happen again.
You sure about that?
Somebody's going to get fired.
That producer
Somebody's going to
is-
get fired.
I'm giving him the stink eye right now. But anyway,
What? Wow.
I'm not giving him the red eye. Oh, wow. He's got a late night flight. That's what it is.
Coast to Coast with George Norrie. Listen.
So anyway, so this is also new that, I mean, I'm pretty much just kind of piecing it together from the news reports. I actually got to watch a few videos of people nearby. There's one journalist who was videotaping right outside one of the theaters that got attacked, and there were people sprinting out of the theater, like pouring out, and you could still hear the gun firing. So he was actually capturing it real time, but he was outside the theater, and he was up about at least third floor, possibly fourth floor.
Wow.
And I'm assuming the attacker was probably on the third floor of the theater because, or at least one of the attackers, there may have been multiple attackers, there were people hanging by their fingernails from the third story window because that was their only way of not being shot, apparently.
Oh.
And they were hanging there, and they were too high to drop off, so they just sat there. And I'm thinking these people must have been young and very in shape. Because
Lightweight.
I guess if your life is on the line, one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to be able to hold on like they did, or you're going to take the risk and jump off. You're only at the third floor and you're hanging way down. To me, I'm thinking worst case scenario, broken ankle if they had dropped. But they hung there for several minutes. This was like a 3-minute video. And they were hanging, and then finally, at the very end of the video, one of the people that was hanging out of the that was actually there were two people that were stepping on the windowsill and clinging to the side of the wall 3 stories up.
Well, see, I could do that.
Yeah,
the hanging.
They were straddling 2 windows, and their body was pressed against the wall.
Oh, because you don't want to be in front of the window.
Right, exactly. That's the whole point. Yeah, this guy was straddling the wall. Now, if there's somebody with an AK-47 shooting, think about it. Forget the fact that your life is on the line. Could you imagine somebody saying, "Now get out there on that ledge there, and then straddle and get on the other window with your other foot"? I mean, I have trouble watching that scene from The Matrix where Neo, Keanu Reeves, has to look down off that edge. And he said to climb over. Do you remember this scene?
Yeah.
Climb over to the window cleaning thing, and then you can get down and get out of the building that way. And it was kind of windy, and he kind of had to straddle across to get to the window thing, and he just couldn't do it.
Wow.
But if there was an AK-47 shooter in there who was just blasting everybody, and people were already dead, and he was continually shooting, yeah, I think he's going to go ahead and take that chance and go for it. Which is exactly what these people were doing. I mean, they were straddling way up high, and if you fall the wrong way, you definitely broken neck, you're dead.
I can't
instantly.
begin to tell you how many reports I've seen that were that just kept on and on about the weapons that they were using and the AKs and repeating it over and over and over. Just the weaponry. These guys were calculated and they were skilled. Just.
Well, I did hear
I got
one
sound
person.
bites.
There was one eyewitness that was. I don't know if he had live bodies or dead bodies piled up on him or her, but she or he was looking through a slit out into the open to where she could see the actual terrorists, and said he was a very young looking man, like 20.
Right.
And he was shooting people indiscriminately, even ones that were begging for their lives. And
Well-
they said that there was no second thoughts, there was no hesitation. They said, and this is so sad, I'm going back to Ben Carson now, he sat there and explained how everybody watched them reload.
They said they reloaded multiple times.
And I know you can reload an AK pretty quickly. I've done it before on my brother's. He's got an AK. It's not automatic. But
Hold on. I just bought my wife a brand new gun. It's called a 380.
uh-huh.
And the clip only holds, I think, 7 rounds and 1 in the chamber. So it's a small clip. For me to sit there in the middle of a situation where I'm actually killing people,
Right.
okay, if I'm not killing people, I'm sitting there reloading. It takes me a minute to get them in the clip, to push them through. And I was even showing her how to do it. And I was showing my daughters how to do it. And the fingers and the spring and the pressure. It's just fumbling around a little bit. Sometimes you might drop one or whatever. But to be in a situation where you're actually firing on people and you're killing bodies, the amount of adrenaline rushing through you has to be absolute insane.
You talking about the shooter?
Yeah. He drops the clip to reload. And those AKs,
Well, let's assume that he had the clips already loaded, like in pockets.
that would be different.
Well,
Completely different.
You have to assume that.
Because I don't see somebody actually
Oh,
physically pushing bullets into a
No.
clip. Okay.
It takes like a minute to put 30 rounds in a clip. I have an AR-15, and you're talking at least a whole minute or two to put 30 rounds in those clips.
Right.
If I'm sitting there loading 30, I'm gonna tell you right now, if I have a crowd of people in front of me that aren't shot yet, and they let me put 30 rounds into a clip,
They
deserve to
deserve to
die.
die.
I mean, you gotta fight.
You gotta rush.
You
You gotta
gotta
bum
fight.
rush them. You gotta bum rush them when you got the chance.
Especially if you figure out, oh, he's putting the bullets in the clip. Come on.
Okay, but it is a little ridiculous. So France.
So he had clips on it.
Yeah, he had clips on. So France closes the borders and installs curfews over Friday night. This is the first time it's happened since 1944. 8 terrorist wielding.
He said that war was declared on us.
Right.
Which is stopping short of saying we declare war on you.
Which nobody has quite said that yet, but I've got a clip from Ted Cruz who wishes that maybe after this Congress will stand up and grow
Well,
and
at
declare
the very
war
least-
on ISIS. Oh, however, Obama still refers to him as ISIL. He's the only one in the entire world.
Yeah.
Fox News, CBS, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, UK Daily Mail, the UK Telegraph, everybody refers to him as ISIS.
I would rather
Everybody.
To me, I think they should be called IS because the actual acronym is Islamic State. ISIS would be Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, but I'm sure the state of the Islamic State will go as big as they can. I mean, they'll go all the way to the Atlantic Ocean.
Well, they said
in
they
Europe.
Would. Well, they said they would.
Well, they're there.
I mean, I got to believe them.
Okay,
If they
so-
say they're going to do it, then I can't just say, "Oh, you're lying."
So, in a roundabout way, I can't believe I'm about to say this.
Uh-oh. Here
But
it comes.
Obama's ISIL may actually be a little bit more accurate. I still don't think it should be called ISIS or ISIL. I think it should be called IS for Islamic State because it could be as big as it gets. It'll be like Alexander the Great. You know, you just keep going until you can't go anymore. I guarantee you that they are not going to stop no matter how far they go.
Well, ISIL would refer to Islamic State, Iraq, and the Levant.
Right. Mm-hmm. And Levant refers to more places than just Syria.
Okay. All right. No, you're right, because saying ISIS is only saying Iraq and Syria. Oh, no, my friend. It should be Iraq, Syria, Turkey.
All that whole Fertile Crescent area.
Everything.
The Middle East, whatever.
Iran.
But now it's going to include
Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming all the way through Romania.
By the way, Romania is where the former Transylvania was.
Oh, yeah.
Which is where Vlad the Impaler, a.k.a. Count Dracula, was the leader. And, the story on him, what he's known for is how much of a ruthless killer he was.
Right.
And that he must be evil because of, the kind of, I don't know if it's genocide, but just mass murder on a mass scale. Well, if you do the full history, turns out Vlad the Impaler, Count Dracula, was a freaking hero. And to this day, the Romanians remember him as a hero.
That's
because
crazy.
What he did with all the impaling and displaying of bodies on the stakes or whatever,
right,
was to fight and scare off the invading forces of Islam back then.
Woo!
Just FYI. So Romania needs another Count Dracula.
That's funny you bring that up. We have a rabid listener.
Okay.
He's rabid.
Is he rabid? Are we insulting listeners now? What are we doing here?
No, you should see him. He's rabid.
Oh, you mean he's foaming at the mouth? Okay, all right.
He made the comment over the weekend that we need another crusade.
Dude, you're talking about this guy like there's something wrong with him. I agree.
No, I didn't say there's something wrong with him. I said he was.
I full-heartedly agree, and I'm not even foaming at the mouth.
Right. So this ISIS, this organization of Muslims that are avid practicers of the Islamic faith, to the letter of the law, to the teeth, they take the book of the Quran, that thing, they take it literal. Absolute literal.
Literal?
Yes.
Okay.
And whatever it says in there, they do exactly what it says. Like when it says, cut the heads off of unbelievers, they say, oh, okay, we must do that.
What about burning them in a cage while they're still alive?
That's for display and hooliganism.
Do they
jokery and hooliganism?
I don't know if this is a way to minimize the fear factor or the terror factor, but I've heard a lot of reports of the beheadings and the crucifixions happening after they're already dead, which to me sounds less inhumane or more. I don't know how you can say
if they're cutting somebody's head off,
that's already dead.
I'm like, well, okay.
Now you're just mutilating a corpse.
Well, you may think I'm weird for this, and you out there in Radio Land might take a step back, but in my mind, that would be a coward.
I could see that. I mean, I can't disagree with it. I didn't think of it that way, but I mean, I'm not disagreeing.
Dude, you're weak.
Like you should have done it while they were still alive.
Because you can't stomach it, so you kill them, and then you cut their head off, acting like you cut their head off.
Well, the crucifixion thing doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. You know the whole head on a stake thing? You kill William Wallace from Braveheart.
Right.
So they when they killed him, they cut him up into pieces and put him on display on each of the four corners of the kingdom.
Right.
So that people coming in know you don't do what William Wallace did.
And if you do, this will be your fate.
So I'm thinking the crucifixion thing is like, okay, we killed these guys. What do we do with the bodies? Well, we could bury them, burn them, or let's put them on display. Well, how do we display it? Well, hey, let's make a crucifix. And then so
have some fun with this.
My God.
I mean, in their world, that's what they think. Let's really do this one up.
So Brian is channeling their thought process.
Allahu Akbar.
Yeah. So before they knew that this was a terror attack, if that's even possible, there were reports in that witnesses heard people screaming Allahu Akbar before the shooting.
Right.
As if that was required to figure this out.
Right.
Now,
oh, God.
well, there's a couple things. I'm going through this really fast. Maybe we should. Am I going too fast?
No.
Slow down.
No, I'm feeling great.
Okay.
I'm on the ride.
I think the refugees, and I say that in air quotes, big, giant air quotes.
Because there is no refugee.
They're invaders. It's called a Trojan horse. Hello. Didn't anybody learn that story? Okay, so what I believe that they did was monumentally stupid. Tactically. If I'm on their side, I'm like, you morons! This is the minimum amount of damage that they could have possibly done. The only way this could have went worse is if they didn't coordinate 6 terror attacks simultaneously and just said, well, hey, whenever you're ready, go ahead, dudes. And like one little group of people did one terror attack on their own. This was one step up from there. The amount of refugees that are filtering in throughout Europe, if they had just waited a little bit longer and got a little bit more coordinated, they could have done this at the leadership, at the wherever the what is it called, a king or something in France? I don't even know what they have. Prime minister, whoever's in charge of France over there.
Debutante.
Okay, the whatever he's called in France. They could have done this at the government. They could have taken over the entire country at the government level.
Do you know why they could have done this? Because they don't have any guns in the government.
Crap! Do they have a military?
The only people in France who have guns. Well, there's two factions that have guns. One is the military. The other is ISIS.
Okay.
So local cops,
they could bring the military,
but local they wound up having to bring the military in.
Okay.
Because the local law enforcement, they couldn't fight them off with billy clubs. Sticks.
And I think there's a possibility. Okay, everybody knows a story from the internment camps of World War II, and it's everybody, all the liberals bring that up as a big black eye on American history, that we rounded up American citizens of Japanese descent and put them in these concentration camps, and they'll say, yeah, well, admittedly, we weren't doing to them in the concentration camps what Nazis were doing to Jews in concentration camps. So,
right.
So obviously, it wouldn't be comparable to that. But the fact that we did, in fact, lock them up and separate them from the rest of society, and the excuse was that we're at war with Japan and we just don't want to take any chances. So the people who are in charge of making that decision are pariahs today, right?
Right.
Is it worrisome to you, Brian, that when we say what we say in reaction to these things will be looked at 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now and be like, gosh, listen to those racists. They're calling on crusades, and they're calling on and I will call on France. I would support France if they said, all right, we're gonna round up all non-France citizens that are Muslim.
French, yeah.
Muslim.
Right.
And we're just gonna humanely round them up and ship them outside the borders. Then we're gonna seal it all. I would be for that, because there's just the Trojan horse was led in the gates.
Right. How do you...
So the question is, 50 years from now, when they hear that exact soundbite, what do they think?
Well, it depends. It depends on if they look in the situation that we're in right now. If you look back during Vlad the Impaler's day, and
we look at him as the most evil person in the world.
Right. But if you look at him and his situation and what he was dealing with, and you see that he was actually it was coinciding with something that the Christian church had to do with their crusades in order to fend themselves off. I don't know. If you look at it with the right mind.
The crusades are looked upon so negatively these days, or I should say up until now that people are actually kind of thinking, crusades. Well, you have to know that we've been taught the wrong thing about the crusades. Everybody I've ever known growing up who bring up the Crusades talk about why this is the reason why Christianity is so evil, because of what they did in the Crusades. Well, what they don't tell you is that the Crusades was a reaction to Islam or Muslims back in those days encroaching into Christian areas and just mass slaughter. They were doing what they're doing today back then, and it prompted Europe to finally say, man, we've got to do something about this. So they fought back, and it was called the Crusades, and people would go almost like a pilgrimage. They would say, all right, they would kiss the family, the wife and kids goodbye. They would get with their brothers and dads and buddies, friends, neighbors, and they would all ride out east and fight back Muslims. And this went on for 100 years or something like that.
Right.
So
even
that
if you
was the Crusades.
even if you look up on Wikipedia, Wikipedia, I mean, they don't put a positive light on the Crusades. However, they dance around it a little bit, and it's not as bad of a light as you would think it would be from a left-leaning, Wikipedia.
Idiot.
Right.
I thought you were comparing it to a person who would talk about it and use it as a way to attack the humanity of Christianity.
Oh, Sean Hannity put that video up. Watch the moment terrorists began shooting in Paris Concert Hall.
Yeah, the drummer in the back is just drumming away, and then all of a sudden, this was a Periscope video. Guy was videotaping and streaming it live through Periscope, the app. If you don't know what Periscope is, it's really the first ever ability to live stream your video.
Did you say live stream?
Yeah.
Yeah, live stream is what I've got.
Oh, so there is an app called Live Stream, but Periscope is exactly the same thing.
I think
when you turn on your camera through Periscope, you are broadcasting to the entire world, and you can. It's set up a lot like Twitter, where you follow users. So when you first get on Periscope, you have nobody that you're following, and so you're pretty much a lone island.
Okay.
If you start following people, any one of those people that start to broadcast a match through Periscope will send you a notice. Like, say Brian Smith is a user, and he starts a Periscope live feed. It would send me. It would actually make my phone tweet. It would make a little whistle.
Oh.
And I could then see that Brian is broadcasting.
Okay.
And then I could turn it on and watch exactly what he's videotaping. And it is becoming a nightmare for people who run events.
Or cops.
I actually watched an inning of the World Series from somebody, actually several different people, sitting in the stands in game like 5 or something of the World Series. Guy was just sitting in the stands. Well, you can imagine if your whatever broadcast company was in charge of doing that, doing the broadcast of that game, Game 5. That would be a nightmare for them. And ticket sales. Right. Be like, well, I could spend $1,000 for ticket Game 5, or my buddy who's going to Periscope it.
Yikes!
Right. But anyway, so somebody was periscoping at one of the theaters that had a concert in France, and he captures the moment where the terrorist attack begins, and you can see the drummer hunch over.
Slump down.
He's playing, there's lights, it's blinking, it's dark, but there's like the light show going on with all the flashes, and you can see the drummer pretty clearly, like silhouetted. He's like he's backlit. And he's drumming, and all of a sudden he stops drumming, and he slumps over, and then the video ends. So apparently he was one of the first victims of the actual shooting. So who knows? It's really disturbing.
So 8 terrorists wielding AK-47s and wearing suicide belts carried out the series of coordinated attacks on 6 different sites around Paris Friday night. And then, like we said before, killing 129 and wounding at least 352. All according to the Associated Press. Okay, the AP. According to the AP today, and Matt Drudge put up an article that says the 8th one is still on the loose, but apparently the AP is claiming that all 8 attackers have been killed. And 7 of them died by blowing themselves up.
Huh.
They literally...
They had everything. They had the bomb. They had the AK-47s.
They blew themselves up, and there's it's called Europe One journalist who was at the Bataclan. Is that what they're calling it?
Bataclan, yeah.
Bataclan Concert Hall. This is what she reported, and this is a quote from her. It says, 2 or 3 individuals not wearing masks returned with automatic weapons.
Returned? Wait a minute. Did they leave?
I don't know. This is what she's saying.
Okay.
Maybe she's might be translated it from French into English.
Can you do it in a French accent? No, don't even try.
Oh, that's a tough one.
I know.
With automatic weapons of the Kalashnikov type.
You mean there's more than one type of Kalashnikov?
Well, she's saying that they returned with automatic weapons of the Kalashnikov type and began to fire blindly into the crowd. The attack lasted about 12 to 15 minutes, was extremely violent, and there was a wind of panic. Everybody was running around. There were scenes of trampling. The assailants had time to reload at least 3 times. They keep saying this. I've got the sound clip. You're going to lose your mind. They weren't masked. They keep saying this over and over. They weren't masked. So
this wasn't a robbery.
No, they were masters of themselves.
What does that even mean? What is that? What is that?
Well, if they were in a
this is lost in translation.
If they were in a debate, they would be masters. So I don't know. This is what she's saying. They were masters of themselves. Maybe the translation is they had complete control of themselves.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
They were very young. The stadium where most of the end quote. The stadium where most of the carnage happened. About 100 people were executed. There were also shootings at 3 different places, restaurants, Central Paris, which left 39 more dead. They said 7 of them blew themselves up with suicide vests. One of them had was born in France, traveled to Syria in the winter of 2013 and 2014, where he joined the ranks of IS.
Oh, okay.
How would you say IS? Maybe that's why
IS.
we don't call it IS. It's because ISIS is like a word. It's not a word, but you can say it like a word.
I'll say IS.
Is.
No.
But we want a word to say.
How about Islam?
All right. That's too long.
Islam it's 2 syllables. That's too long.
So IS, where he joined the ranks of IS, quote, he caught police's attention due to the violation of public power. I don't know what that means. From 2004 to 2010, he was pronounced guilty 8 times, but never been sent to prison. 2010.
Guilty of what?
All different kinds of crimes around the area.
Okay.
B&E and beating people up. And no, that beating people up thing, I don't know.
He's got parking tickets. What is? Oh.
He swears he doesn't even have a car.
He's got a Hilux Toyota.
Whoa! I said, where'd you get that? From your friend Obama? It's like, who told you I knew him? Right. Hold that one back. So from 2004 to 2010, pronounced guilty of 8 different crimes, never gone to prison. 2010, he was blacklisted by the police due to extreme behaviors, but never been classified into any illegal extremist groups. And this was from the one of the articles there in France. So this was translated into English.
Oh, okay. What is extreme behavior? Like, I look at some of the people at the gym, and I'm like, dude, that guy's extreme. That guy's extreme. He is behaving very extremely.
Over in Europe, it's a little different. I mean, they refer to people as hooligans.
Okay.
and hooliganism.
Hooliganism?
Yeah, there's a hooliganism. So it's like these kids have run amok, and it's there's just bad stuff going on. So, but in the wake of the terror attacks in Paris on Saturday, one group of Frenchmen took to the streets demanding the expulsion of Islamists from the entire country of France.
Well, good for him. I agree.
It was a whole group. The video went viral. We've got Rick Leventhal on Fox News, and he was there in Paris probably on Saturday in the evening or on Saturday, because in the video you can see people mulling around and still trying to do what they got to do. And he was asked, who were these guys? What was their relationship with ISIS? Can you give us any more detail? And 1D, Rick Leventhal had this to say on the street, on the ground, right out in front of the hall, the concert hall.
Well, we're told that these guys were well organized, well trained crew. That they were obviously these attacks were premeditated and coordinated. Likely these guys were vetted by ISIS and possibly even were with ISIS and sent here from Syria. One of the men has now been identified as a 29-year-old French national, Ismail Mostafal. He was known to the police. He was from a tough neighborhood. He had been radicalized 5 years ago and was described as a low-life criminal with 8 prior arrests. Several members of his family, including his father and brother, have now been detained for questioning. We also know that another of the terrorists was a Syrian who joined the flood of refugees fleeing the war. He passed through Greece into the EU in early October. At least one of the other terrorists may also have used this same migrant route to get out of Syria and into the European Union. Another 2 of the 7 were Frenchmen who were living in Brussels, one of them in a neighborhood known as a hotbed of radicalism, also an area which has supplied many fighters to ISIS in Syria and Iraq. As many as 10 others, as you know, were detained in Brussels in a series of raids because they were chasing down one of those rental cars. The license plate was a Belgian plate. They tracked it to that neighborhood, and authorities yesterday took a bunch of people into custody there. So there may be a Brussels connection. There appears to be a Brussels connection in these terror attacks. Meanwhile, President Hollande is gathering his National Assembly and Senate in Versailles for a historic address tomorrow afternoon. No debate, no voting, just bringing them all into Versailles to speak. Our French fixer has said this is a very, very rare occurrence indeed.
Yeah,
Eric?
the President Hollande, of course, is saying this is an act of war. In a moment, we'll talk to John Bolton about what the world would do in response to all this. Rick Leventhal on the streets of Paris tonight.
Okay, so let me tell you about that area that he had mentioned. I've got a friend, someone that we know that are friends of ours that actually lived in France years and years ago, but lived in France. He said this area, this hotbed, as they call it, is a, if you will, a small town of nothing but is Islamic terror group organization of this entire town. It's so violent in that town that the French cops will not even go in there. Not only that, but the local
we've heard about this before.
Local
Sharia law areas, and
Right.
now the local law enforcement are just like, we just stay the hell out of there.
You would just stay away from them.
And then the locals in that area will enforce the law based on Sharia,
Right.
which is what's written in the Quran.
Right.
Like chopping off a hand if you steal. If you're not Muslim, you get shot in the back of the head, whatever.
Right.
Chopped off, head chopped off, whatever.
Right. And remember how I kept saying this thing about the hoods, the hat, the stuff? I'm trying to get a grip on why everybody's so fascinated with this whole notion that they didn't have no hats on, man.
They didn't have hats on.
They didn't have no hoods. They didn't cover their face. So, where's that?
Were they expecting that? Is that a big and unexpected thing?
I don't know.
I don't think it would be such a interesting fact if this happened in America that all the witnesses would be like, they didn't even have their faces covered.
Right.
I mean, that would be something you would just throw out there once, but you wouldn't dwell on it.
Right. Well, as the media heads try and wrap their head around what's going on, the question on their mind is, why France? See, everything's starting to spin. The media's starting to spin and twist it, and I'm trying to bring you all around cohesively. Now, after the attacks have happened, the murders are done, the mass murders, the carnage, the blood, everything. The media is like, why France?
Well, ISIS had something to say about that.
They sure did, but there's a news reporter named Chris Simmons, who there he is. Chris Simmons had something to say about the whole situation, and this is where that stupid hood thing comes into play. All right, cue it up.
Sometime today.
Why France is a particular target, and NBC's Chris Simmons has been looking into that. Keir, good morning.
Savannah, good morning. We now know that ISIS does say that it is responsible for the attacks here in Paris, and witnesses describe seeing young men perhaps in their early 20s, who didn't even bother to cover their faces with hoods. So what?
Okay, I got more of a sound clip of this bite. But they didn't even bother.
They didn't even bother to cover their faces
with hoods. Okay. What is it me? Am I stuck on stupid here or something?
That is definitely an eyebrow raiser for me too. Is it a cultural thing that we're confused by why this is so significant?
So if you're out there in Radioland, you have the answers. 772-49-SMITH, SMYTH. Well, all in. The lines are lit up and hot. If you're on hold, just wait.
I didn't hear one person who would have been able to say one way or another that they thought it was odd that the 19 hijackers...
They never had hoods.
They didn't even bother.
They
didn't even bother to cover their face with a hood. I mean, a camera could actually capture their face.
And in London, we have cameras everywhere.
And that's supposed to matter why? These guys... Their entire body is smeared all over everything. Okay. They blew themselves up.
Let me see if I can capture that sound again.
Who didn't even bother to cover their faces with hoods. So while...
They didn't bother.
They didn't even bother. I mean, if you think about it, they just didn't have time. How pathetic.
They must be amateurs. They didn't even bother to cover their faces with hoods. All right, go ahead.
Didn't even bother to cover their faces with hoods. So while we now know more and more who was responsible, people in France are just beginning to ask themselves, why?
Why?
Paris in the crosshairs once again. It was only 10 months ago, January, when Islamic militant extremists attacked and killed 12 people at the offices of the satirical newspaper Charlie Hebdo.
How is that not a wake-up call?
Hold on, and how many rounds did they go through to kill 12 people? We talked about this last January.
Well, yeah, we were all over that.
They went through 50,000 rounds.
No, what are you talking about? They had Gatling guns, all of them.
And they only hit 12 people.
It was like that scene from Predator with Jesse the Body Ventura. He was like chopping trees in half and everything.
And everybody just stood back up. They're like, oh, they missed me.
Falling down.
Yeah.
In that movie Falling Down, there was a drive-by shooting. Two guys hanging out the side of a lowrider as it speeds by. Both of them have Mac 10s. And they go, brrr, two guns blazing, bodies falling all over the place. And Michael Douglas is sitting there on a telephone in the middle of all of it.
Right.
Untouched.
It didn't even faze him either, did it?
No, he kind of was looking around like, what just happened? There were bodies everywhere. Everything got hit. He was the only thing that didn't get hit, and that was kind of a little bit of a joke of the scene, that he was able to just stand there, not even protect himself in any way, shape, or form, and they just... Oh! And he was the target. They did that drive-by. Right before they did the drive-by, they were like, there he is, man! Let's get this sucker! And then they get in or they're already in the car.
Did they say sucker?
I don't know if it was sucker or...
Well, it was back in the 80s, so you could say
it
sucker.
Could say...
Yes.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was bleeped. No, I'm just kidding. Back in the 80s, yeah. So... Yeah, that was the funny part, was that he was the target, and I guess they were pointing out that, it was
Charlie Hebdo.
Hebdo.
How?
12 people.
Okay.
Well, they got 129 so far.
In the days that followed, 4 more were killed in an attack and standoff at a kosher supermarket. The attacks rocked France and initially gave rise to a sense of unity across the country.
I don't get that.
But
I don't get
other
that.
What does that do?
countries, France is struggling with high unemployment and a population of disaffected youths.
Okay, youths. What is a, and help me out here. I mean, we could Google it. We could Google define what is a disaffected youth look like. What would that kind of person be?
I would think, well, first of all, you got to be young, and they're unemployed probably. Disaffected, I don't know, they're just mad. I don't know, what does a mad young person look like? Brian's actually Googling
it. You may have heard, and this is from vocabulary.com, you may have heard the term disaffected youth, which refers to young people rebelling against some aspect of society.
Any aspect will do, right?
Every city. Oh, this is from understandingsociety.blogspot.
What?
Every city seems to have its floating population of disaffected.
Floating. They're just like, they're wandering aimlessly.
Here are the tags for that too. School dropouts, occasional workers, drug users, and skateboarders.
Oh, come on! Oh, that is so wrong.
That was for you.
You
were disaffected. Floating around, and you never knew it.
I skated for 8 years straight, and not once did I ever think that the reason I'm doing this is because I'm young and I'm disaffected.
Dude, you didn't skate. You floated.
I floated around. It was like hoverboards, right? Maybe that's what they meant. Hoverboard kid.
Oh, breaking news here on Smith Radio. If you are a hoverboard kid, call in now. We'd love to talk to you. 772-49-SMITH.
Wow. And
it's also home to Europe's biggest Muslim minority.
ISIS has made it a mission.
It's also home to Europe's biggest Muslim minority.
Okay, that part of the soundbite. See, this whole sound clip, he's trying to answer why France. He's calling on disaffected youths that are skateboarders running around town, smoking dope.
All these terrorists are skateboarders.
Smoking dope.
Oh, my God.
School
they
dropouts.
Dropped out, yeah.
And then he slipped it in. The largest population of Muslim minorities.
Is that what he said?
That's exactly what he said.
Replay.
Here we go.
Youths. It's also home to Europe's biggest Muslim minority.
Oh, biggest
ISIS
minority.
has made it a mission to try to incite people, and there is a large number of radicalized individuals in France, or at least comparatively large. There is a comparatively large number of French nationals who have gone to Syria and other conflicts to fight.
At least one other recent attack was foiled. In August, a gunman was taken down aboard a high-speed train from Brussels to Paris. Heroic passengers overwhelmed him.
Americans.
No, I stopped that on purpose. He never gives credit.
Of course not. Why would they?
They were Americans. That was a huge story. It was a huge story because they were Americans. They were military personnel.
There were a couple of older non-Americans that helped that don't want their name disclosed because they're afraid that they're going to get retaliated by ISIS
or the government. How dare you stop? How dare you stop our terror attack in progress?
Are you going to tell them the conspiracy theory?
We're going to get to that.
Okay, that'll be our segue.
This morning, the French president says ISIS was responsible for Friday's attack. France targeted because of its actions in the Middle East.
France has been deeply engaged in Syria and Iraq with the U.S. coalition.
Really?
France does have a difficult relationship with many of its Muslim communities going back to Algeria.
Okay,
I'm not buying that.
What?
Remember
when I heard this clip?
Freedom Fries?
Right.
You remember Freedom Fries?
Right.
I'm not really 100% buying
When
this.
I heard this clip, I just started shaking my head. I mean, we're on the forefront of who is and who isn't in Syria in this war. You're telling me that France is fighting with America and we're both fighting against Russia? That would be breaking news everywhere. Why is this the first time we've ever heard of it's because of French's involvement with America?
That's breaking news as far as
In
I'm
the Middle
concerned.
East.
I'm just left scratching my head. Why don't they quote what ISIS said they did this for? Because of all the debauchery and the
that has never come up one time.
ISIS said
anywhere.
this. It was because it's the prostitution capital of the world.
I don't know. You didn't tell.
ISIS.
Somebody
said
didn't
that.
tell Obama this.
Yeah, ISIS said that we did a successful terror attack to punish
cleansing
the cleansing of the debauchery capital of the world. Yeah,
your behavior deserves death.
Yeah, they guess a lot of liberals and atheists and whatever criticize Christianity because of the fundamentalists who like to judge others for their unholy ways. And there's the Islamic extremists who, they're not even allowed to drink.
No. But funny thing is, though, is the 19 hijackers that were here in America.
Oh, they engaged in all kinds of, yeah.
Well,
right before.
The night before, it was prostitution, orgies, strip clubs, alcohol, crack cocaine.
I don't think they really believe in their religion because how don't they think that when they get up to Muhammad, Allah, whatever, that they're going to be questioned about that?
Like, I did it in the name of you, Allah. I want to make sure I experience the debauchery.
But I have 72 virgins over here for you.
Thank you, Allah.
No, you ruined it.
No, I had to make sure.
Make sure of what?
That the debauchery was not something for me.
That me killing myself was worth it for the 72 virgins.
Right.
Because what if I didn't experience, I do it, get up, and then the 72 virgins, I'm like, oh, this was not what it was made
Allah,
out to be.
I did it to prove to you.
Oh, whatever.
Twisted mental gymnastics. All right, let's get this sound clip over.
Let's say the motive may be more ideological.
France is the symbol of a lot of things tourists don't like. France is the symbol of freedom.
Freedom.
More ideological.
France is the symbol of a lot of things tourists don't like. France is the symbol of freedom.
You've got to save that
guys,
sound
in my
clip.
experience of
I've got it
covering
clipped out.
these attacks is that we will find out that the young men behind what happened yesterday were connected to others who the intelligence services will know about. The problem for the European security intelligence services has been that there have been so many people traveling to Syria, many of them coming back. They have been pretty well overwhelmed, guys.
Okay, so security has pretty much been overwhelmed with the amount of people going to Syria and coming back. Yikes.
So
Yikes.
really this was, to me, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, we'll have to see what happens to Germany. But to me, it seems like France may have been targeted for convenience.
France is the symbol of a lot of things tourists don't like. France is the symbol of freedom.
You just didn't know. They don't like freedom.
Of debauchery.
What? Let me tell you a story. This goes back to my college days.
Oh, wow. We get to hear some interesting stuff here.
This was one girl that...
Whoa,
just one person.
Already, we are
just
way
one
too much detail.
person.
TMI.
She was a foreign exchange student from France.
Okay.
And from the area around Paris. So, she was like a city girl. And
Did she ask you if you wanted to have some freedom?
She asked for freedom fries.
Freedom.
But she was renting or subleasing a room in a large house where other people were staying too. So it's like most of these houses in college had like 5 or 6 different rooms, and everybody would like pick a room and split the rent, split the bills. She was one in the whole house. This house was kind of a party house.
Did she have armpit hair and leg hair? I think that's the thing over there.
Yeah, I think she did.
She was like a gorilla.
Like a gorilla. What? Okay, so shortly after the first couple of months, her roommates, we were over there hanging out, and we were talking to some of her roommates, and they were like, you need to be careful of her.
Uh-oh.
We're like, what are you talking about? It's like, you don't understand. She's only been here a month or so, and she already has a reputation.
Okay.
I'm like, a reputation? She's like, yeah, you just watch yourself. I'm like,
Watch
okay,
yourself.
whatever. So the night progresses, moves on.
Sounds to me like somebody gave you some inside trading information.
Right, inside trading information.
Oh.
And so as the night went on, we got to talking, and I got to talking to her, and we were just BS and whatnot. And it come to find out she was very open about her sexuality and about she didn't understand how us Americans were such prudes and so prudish about who we have sex with and who we don't have sex with. And she's the comment that she made to me was, well, yeah, I did that with them. I said, well, why? Do you love him? Love? He's my friend.
Oh, it's friends with a benefit.
I said, what do you mean friend? Second, I do it with all my friends.
So the obvious follow-up question, you know what it is, right?
No, I pulled the e-brake, the ejection seat. I got out of Dodge.
Oh, you got to ask the follow-up question. Will you be my friend?
I couldn't go there.
Oh, how could you not go there?
She was French. She
wasn't
really that
French.
good. Yeah, she wasn't.
Is that how she talked?
Yeah, it was
She
really.
Is it?
She had a little bit of facial hair.
Oh, wow.
But her whole notion was that in France, all of my friends, I have a large circle of friends, and we all do that. It's like you guys shaking hands and hugging people here. Okay. That's just what we did. I mean, you guys are so prudish. Isn't it fun? Don't you like it? Well, why wouldn't you like it and have fun with your friends?
All right. So the e-brake came on, and you're all about, hey, we believe. Because, America is founded on Christianity.
Right.
And we know that what you learn in Christianity works because the alternative turns into a big dramatic nightmare,
right.
Which is that you should wait until you're married. That way, you don't end up with a bastard child who doesn't have any parents or doesn't have a dad or whatever, single parent household. And we all know that children are at a disadvantage when you go down that road. So we believe in waiting till you're married. So that way the children will have two parents in the household.
A cousin of ours, a third part of the link, a cousin of ours explained it to me when I was younger and said, it's like Scotch tape. I said, what?
What?
He's like, yeah, a relationship like that is like Scotch tape. The more you stick it on things, the less stickier it gets. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, because if you wait till marriage and when you stick the tape on, it will stay forever. It won't fall. If you keep pulling it off and putting it on, pulling it off, putting it on, by the time it won't stick on,
it's
nothing.
Irreversible.
You cannot clean off tape and make it stick.
They do have. Well, no. There's no hope.
Where's the super glue, man? Where's the glue?
That's a hot mess, is what that is.
Okay, so I teased it earlier in the show that early Friday morning, Obama aired, obviously a recording of Obama with Stephanopoulos.
That's a like a Sesame Street thing. Was it his name Snuffleupagus?
Yes, Snuffleupagus.
What's his name again?
Snuffleupagus. Stephanopoulos.
No, his first name.
Georgie.
George Snuffleupagus.
That's who he is.
We might get sued by PBS.
Oh, because they've already coined that?
Well, Snuffleupagus is a character name. It'd be like calling somebody Mickey Mouse. You can only do that when you're voting for a Democrat.
Oh, right.
Right. When you're registering to vote, that's the only time you could use the Mickey Mouse name.
And you're allowed to. It's okay.
Right.
Hours before the attack, Friday, on ABC's Good Morning America. Yes, folks, there's a show called Good Morning America. I know nobody watches it because we're all on our way to work.
Thanks for breaking that news.
Breaking news. Nobody sees it. So he had Obama on, and this is what they said. Play it. 1A.
Fight against ISIS front and center in my exclusive interview with President Obama yesterday. When we spoke in the cabinet room shortly before the strike, the president acknowledged how difficult it will be to eliminate the threat from that deadly terror group.
Even your friendly critics, Fareed Zakaria, says that what you have on the ground now is not going to be enough. Every couple of months, you're going to be faced with the same choice, back down or double down.
I love how he says that. Back down or double down.
You know, that went through a meeting, and they all talked about it, and somebody came up with that, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, that's it.
Back down or double down. And Obama says, oh, I'm not backing down. Well, it gives him, it's like one of those softball things.
It is a softball because nobody's going to pick back down.
Well, especially when you're sitting in a very comfy room, fully heated, fully air conditioned. You got food serve, craft services in the background.
No, dude.
Anything you want, it's all there.
Do you know what it is? It's Back to the Future. What was Marty McFly's biggest weakness?
Oh, he always backed down.
No. His biggest weakness. If you called him chicken.
Oh,
what are you,
chicken?
And then he would.
That's when he got the strength to knock him out.
Oh, was it George or Marty? One of them, if you called him chicken, I think it was Marty. You call him chicken, and it didn't matter what you challenged him on.
The meathead.
He was gone.
You're saying the meathead.
No, Marty McFly was the
dad.
Michael J. Fox. No, that's right. George McFly. George is the dad.
Because he couldn't take being called a chicken because his dad was kind of a chicken.
What are you, chicken? And he would lose it. So this question was literally,
what are you, chicken?
What are you, chicken? Yeah.
And here's...
I think what is true is that this has always been a multi-year project.
Have you ever heard that terminology in your entire life?
I still cannot process it.
Multi-year project. Multi-year
I don't know what is he getting at here.
This is a long-term project. Oh, he probably didn't have his teleprompter.
Oh, that's why it was.
Precisely because the governance structures in the Sunni areas of Iraq are weak, and there are none in Syria. And we don't have ground forces there in sufficient numbers to simply march into al-Raqqa in Syria and clean the whole place out. And as a consequence, we've always understood that our goal has to be militarily constraining ISIL's capabilities, cutting off their supply lines, cutting off their financing.
But ISIS is gaining strength, aren't they?
Well, I don't think they're gaining strength. What is true is that from the start, our goal has been first to contain and we have contained them. They have not gained ground in Iraq.
They've gone to France.
Syria, they'll come in, they'll leave, but you don't see this systematic march by ISIL.
What? They marched right into France.
This is Friday morning.
What we have not yet been able to do is to completely decapitate their command and control structure.
Did you hear what he said?
We've made...
Hold on. He said we have not been able to completely decapitate their control and command. Why would he say that? Why would he say that? He's talking about a terrorist group that cuts heads off of non-believers. And he went down that road. Am I being Am I thinking too hard about it?
Definitely wasn't a very great choice of words. But it might be being
English,
overly political to criticize that choice of words.
In English, in our world here in America, we don't use the word decapitate.
We'll say cut off the head of the command and control.
Yeah, we'll cut off the head of the snake. Cut the head of the snake off.
There you go. Yeah.
Decapitate?
Yeah, that actual choice of word is, it's telling. Maybe that was in the top of his mind. Maybe he's hearing more about decapitation, so that word was at the top of his mind.
All right.
I'm being way nice to him right now.
Or he just got out of a meeting with his buddies of ISIL.
That could be. And they were like, we decapitate everybody.
Decapitate.
And then he comes out and he's like, what word am I looking for? Decapitate.
And these guys are always talking about decapitate. Man. Hey, George Snuffleupagus. You ready? You ready?
George Snuffleupagus. Nobody yet uses that word, which is so obvious.
Yeah.
Because they'll get sued by PBS.
Probably.
Some progress in trying to reduce the flow of foreign fighters, and part of our goal has to be to recruit more effective Sunni partners in Iraq to really go on offense rather than simply engage in defense.
Okay, so hold on. So he's waiting to get more Sunnis before he goes on offense.
Sounds like the Bay of Pigs.
He just opened up his playbook to the world.
Yeah.
We're not going in until we get until we convince enough Sunni Muslims to help us kill the other Muslims.
Strategy here. The only strategy, there's no military strategy here. What he is saying is a political statement that sends a message to all of his constituents. Don't you worry, we're not going to send your sons and daughters into harm's way. We're going to send the sons and daughters of the Sunnis in harm's way. We're not going to do Americans.
That's exactly what I heard.
That is the message. It has nothing to do with military strategy whatsoever.
Right.
So that's the only reason he said it. I don't even think he's going to look for Sunnis and he's not even going to look for
We
it.
put an ad on Craigslist.
To the Craigslist Syria.
It's Craigslist.syria.
That's right.
.org.
I think it's syria.craigslist.org. Something like that. Whatever.
Right.
He put the ads on Craigslist.
U.S. government pay big dollars.
Big dollar.
What, they're Asian now?
How much do I get for $10?
$5.
You break, you buy.
You here 4 hours. You America. You break, you buy. You America. You go. Break, you buy.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Smith Radio officially off the rails and into the bridge.
The bridge apartment.
So that was Friday morning.
Okay.
He's talking about we've contained them. We've got them on the run.
And then we're not going to do anything about it because we can't decapitate them. We have to let the Sunnis do it. But I don't really mean that. I'm just sending a message to the liberals in America. Don't you make no never mind. We're not going to do anything that's going to possibly put your son and daughters in harm's way, which, by the way, he actually is doing that directly by bringing in all of the invaders himself. He doesn't have to wait for them to sneak over. He's like, let me try to help you get over here. Just go ahead and get on our C-130s and just pile in there.
Yeah.
We'll bring you over.
C5s.
We'll disperse you in all the most populated areas.
Right.
So that you can effectively conduct your terrorist attack, simultaneous coordinated attacks across American and populated areas.
Right.
That's how it's going to go down, flat out.
So that was Friday morning, and that was a big, like, oops. Because then these terrorist attacks open up just a couple of hours after he said this, gave this talk, just a couple hours later, boom, Muslims descend on France.
And he would say, well, I found out about it right when you guys did.
I listened to Smith Radio on Sunday about Friday.
Yeah, he listened. It's Monday morning, Barack Obama. President Obama. Where did you first hear about the attacks in France?
Same place you did. On Smith Radio.
Same place you did stuff it up.
So then Obama finds out. He's like, oh, damn. He's like, oh, man. So, so the bodies haven't even cooled yet.
Oh, jeez.
And with the terrorist situation still underway, it's still going on. The terrorist situation is still trying to wrap it up and figure out what's going on.
They think there might be somebody outstanding out there. An eighth person, I don't even know if they're accounted for.
He's like, hey, I don't want anybody to speculate on who's responsible.
What? No, he didn't. No way. There's no way he said that. You're lying. This is an Onion article.
He's
right?
in full scrub-a-dub jihad mode.
Where did you put that? Because I am just
1A underneath Snuffleupagus. Halfway down on the first page. Down at the bottom of the first page.
There's no way he said that.
Okay, so I don't have that soundbite, but I've got this soundbite. He came out and did a presser. And he's like, oh, by the way, that whole France thing.
I just want to make a few brief comments about the attacks across Paris tonight. Once again, we've seen an outrageous attempt to terrorize innocent civilians. This is an attack not just on Paris, it's an attack not just on the people of France, but this is an attack on all of humanity and the universal values that we share. We stand prepared and ready to provide whatever assistance that the government and the people of France need to respond. France is our oldest ally. The French people have stood shoulder to shoulder with the United States time and again. And we want to be very clear that we stand together with them in the fight against terrorism and extremism. Paris itself represents the timeless values of human progress. Those who think that they can terrorize the people of France or the values that they stand for are wrong. The American people draw strength from
he sounds like
the
a
French
bumbling
people's commitment
idiot.
to life, liberty. The American people draw strength from the French people's commitment to life, liberty.
What about you killing everybody in Planned
happiness.
Parenthood?
We were reminded.
He had to think about Pursuit of Happiness for a while.
He said life, Americans draw strength on the French people's pursuit of life, liberty, and what was that other thing?
I need that cue card, buddy. Let's go.
HAPPYNESS.
No, the cue card guy got his thumb stuck in between the cards. No, but
we draw strength on French? Paris? Hey, folks, if you haven't heard, French, the government, the whole military government of France, they build tanks with rear view mirrors on them so they can watch the fight.
On their way out.
On their way out.
Oh, my gosh.
I posted up on Facebook. I said, somebody needs to rescue France. Again,
right.
The only reason why we have a country on earth called France, and there's even a language called the French language, is because of America. Twice. They ran to the coast and begged Britain to send lifeboats to get them off the continent of Europe because Hitler was going to take them out.
Yeah, they ran all the way.
And the only reason why the Eiffel Tower still stands and the Arc de Triomphe still stands and hasn't been destroyed by war is because Hitler was in love with the city of Paris.
Yeah, that's why he took all their artwork.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved the debauchery he did. Dying of syphilis. Reports say that. They say that he was starting to he had a bad strain that was going up his spine.
Right.
Make him go crazy.
But he didn't die of that.
Well, it was his method. Anyway. It was his method of medication that he used.
Oh, cyanide pill.
Was it the pill or the bullet?
No, he used.
She took the bullet.
No, he had the cyanide pill in his teeth.
Okay.
Chomped down on it while he shot a pistol into his head.
I wouldn't have done that. I just let the
cyanide do it, or just let the bullet do it.
Was that like a double? That's doubling down.
Well, that if I've heard of people getting shot in the head and surviving. It's really rare, but it does happen.
Buddy of mine in junior high.
He got shot in the mouth, though.
He did. The gun was in his mouth and it went out the side of his face.
If you're going to go directly into the head, the odds of survival very, very slim. But he wanted to hedge it by doing the cyanide also.
Okay.
But you could just do the cyanide capsule by itself. I don't know if it's been recorded anywhere that one has survived a cyanide capsule. I don't know.
Okay.
We're going to test that later on.
So help me out here, Carrie. I'm screwing around with my phone this morning, and I was going to go on Amazon and check something out, maybe a book or something. I was just kind of bored. And as soon as I pulled up the Amazon app, boom, right in front of me, white screen, Amazon, giant French flag.
Okay.
And underneath it, in the language of the French, in the French language, it said Solidarity.
Mm-hmm.
Google. The Google homepage.
Yeah.
The black ribbon.
Oh, is there?
You know the black ribbon that we have here in America? Either a black ribbon, a yellow ribbon. It has to do with support our troops, things like that. Well, they have a black ribbon, and if you hover the mouse over that ribbon, it says, in memory of the victims of the Paris attacks.
Okay.
What is this solidarity? People all over Facebook are now putting the French flag as a watermark over their picture.
Did you see what they did to the Capitol?
Oh, for crap's sake. Well, they shut the lights out in one of the towers in New York City. They turned all the lights out in solidarity for Paris.
Are you sure it wasn't like in World War II when an air raid would happen?
They had to shut them out so you would see it.
Right. And yeah, it was a mandatory thing. Everybody had to shut all lights off.
Right.
So that way the bombers coming over didn't know where the city was.
Right. They didn't have night vision at that time.
Not only did they not have night vision, but the way you would drop the bombs was kind of like, all right, where's the city? And there's landmarks based on
They follow
the
some
lighting.
of the roads and the
yeah,
lighting.
Yeah, right.
They actually built an entire fake city in England.
I heard about that.
And lit it up.
Yeah.
It was a complete fake city with all the lights on to make the bombers think that was London.
When you're at war, it is amazing the stuff you can pull off.
It's amazing how people come together to make it happen.
And they did. It's amazing. How could you light up an entire fake city? It's not there. Nobody's there.
Right.
That's just amazing.
Huge.
It's huge.
Huge.
And by the way, we're going to make a huge wall.
Right.
Huge. It's going to be the best that ever been built.
So is this not, and I started complaining to my wife about this, and she kind of agreed with me, but then kind of went back and forth. I love the fact that my wife does not agree with me on everything. I really like that. So if you're out there listening, I love it. Don't agree with me, especially if you don't. However,
Don't agree with him ever, just for fun. Just make a joke out of it. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
Just kidding.
So, is it not like hashtag bring our girls back?
Oh, it's annoying.
I need a hashtag
because
now.
It's completely
hashtag
useless.
Paris attacks are bad. Hashtag bring Paris back.
When Pearl Harbor attacked, when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor.
When Pearl Harbor attacked Japan.
Yeah, the citizens of Pearl Harbor. No, when Japan attacks Pearl Harbor, of course that was a declaration of war, and of course we declared war on Japan. Hitler declared war on us.
Right.
That to me was a statement of solidarity with Japan.
Right.
Because Hitler did not have the means to attack America.
No.
We then said, "Oh yeah, well we declare war on you, Hitler."
Right.
And that was different. His declaration of war on America was equivalent to a hashtag, whereas ours was like, let's show them what it means for us to declare war on you, and we took it to them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We stormed the beaches of Normandy, and we marched all the way to Berlin and all that stuff. So And we raced the Russians to Berlin. And they actually beat us to it. That's why, to this day, they have the body of Hitler.
So here comes the left-wing arm of the administration, the news media. And here comes the attacks on the people that caused this terror attack. There's people out there that's their fault that these terrorists did this. There's people out there. Guess who finds this out? Matt Lauer.
Oh, great.
Matt Lauer on his show, whatever his show is, his question is, what does this do to the French psyche?
What does this do to the psyche? In the wake of Charlie Hebdo back in January and now these attacks, what does it do to the psyche of the people in Paris and France?
Well, I think people are scared. They're angry. There's a lot of calls for retribution. It's going to further divide the general population from the Muslim and immigrant population. We don't want to see that, but I think that's going to happen. It's inevitable. The right wing is going to take advantage of it. You'll see Marine Le Pen, the head of the National Front, trying to exploit this for all it's worth, just as she tried to exploit Charlie Hebdo. She wasn't successful then. She probably will be more successful now. All of that is going to create huge rifts in this society. At the same time, the question is, what will François Hollande, the president, do to exact what he calls merciless retribution for this act? Is he going to go deeper into war in Syria and in Iraq? That, unfortunately, is exactly what ISIS wants. It's part of their ideology. They want a direct confrontation with the West. Maybe they won't be happy with what they get, but that's what they want, and we're going to see a spiral in that direction.
Christopher Dickey, who knows Paris, the streets of Paris, and the country of France about as well as anyone. Chris, it's always good to see you. Thank you very much.
So Dickey says, who obviously lives in Paris, I guess he's a journalist, but he's part of Matt Lauer's group, which love to prop up the socialist left-wing whatever. For him to come out and say that the right-wing party in France is going to take advantage of this and milk this for all that it's worth, just like they did the Hebdo thing. Milking it.
What a loser.
Milking it.
What a total loser. When we point out facts and we say, hey, this is what we need to do, this is what we told you to do, you know what? All I got to say is this. It's idiots like that who are responsible for this attack, because we told you from day one that it was a Trojan horse. You're letting all these refugees in. It's a Trojan horse. We told you that a long time ago, and you just sit there and let them in and say, well, we got to be compassionate and we got to have open borders, and we're the bastion of freedom in Europe, so we have to let everybody in because it would be inhumane not to, even though these people are of fighting age and they're making it freaking obvious that they are a fighting force. They're an invading force. They're coming in. We told you that. It's not taking advantage of it. It's pointing out that what ended up happening this weekend was a result of your negligence. And you've got blood on your hands now because you didn't do enough to protect the French people.
Chancellor Angela Merkel.
Oh, gosh. Smack her upside her head. She's the one that wants 250,000 people from Syria of fighting age in by welcoming them. I mean, it's not like they're, the Syrian refugees, a.k.a. the invaders, are looking for somewhere in the
invasion.
West. They're looking for
full-blown invasion.
Yeah, they're looking for somewhere to go invade. Well, they're being attracted in to Germany.
I cannot tell you how many stories I have seen where people are being removed from their homes and relocated so that these migrants can then be in their homes. There's hotel rooms that the government in Germany is paying for. The entire hotel building is being paid for and housing migrants. And they're complaining that it's not good enough.
So the question is,
this riff.
What do you do if you're one of the invading force, let's say a leader, I mean, if you're just a foot soldier, you're going to just take
I would
orders.
take full-blown advantage of
Okay.
every single... I mean, you want to talk about pillage and plunder. I mean, that's literally what is going on. It's you're an invader going into another country. You can think of any decade, any century in all of human history, you're invading another country. Your goal is to plunder, take.
You got to defeat it, and that's why I think this attack on France was it may be the biggest blunder ISIS ever did. It's a blunder. It's a huge military tactical blunder because
they could have, like you were saying earlier, shut down the government of France.
You cannot do an attack of this type after the Trojan horse was brilliant and they squandered it because they proved
everybody's screaming shut down the borders.
They confirmed what we've been saying all along, which is that it is a Trojan horse. They confirmed it. Now that it's confirmed, none of the other invaders can carry out an operation, and in fact, they're probably not going to be allowed to stay in the country. I wouldn't be surprised if Angela Merkel comes out and says,
hold on.
Change my mind about that 250,000 refugees.
Pull that e-brake. She's as dumb as you think she is.
Oh, no. I should say, well, what are you going to do?
This by rightspeak.net. Quote, this is what they wrote about this. Populist leaders around Europe rush to demand an end to the influx of refugees and migrants from the Middle East and Africa on Saturday after a wave of deadly attacks, as Paris claimed by Islamic State militant, so IS. The carnage in the French capital, directly linked to the conflicts in Syria and Iraq, seemed bound to further complicate the European Union's task in sharing out hundreds of thousands of migrants who have entered the bloc this year, fleeing war and poverty.
Fleeing war and poverty. You mean spreading war?
Spreading
and
war
poverty.
and poverty. Some of the pictures that I've seen, there was a town of, maybe 1,500 people, and they had refugees in the numbers of 5,000 come through their town and then left. And people were taking pictures of what they left. The whole town looked like the 3 days in New York in 1969. The Freedom of Love.
Oh, Woodstock.
Woodstock.
It looked like Woodstock.
They said the whole town. The pictures. It looked like wood. There was dirty clothes and dirty underwear and diapers and boxes and food and garbage and trash.
Oh boy.
Just moving on through. Just trashing it all.
It's like locusts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So Angela Merkel responded to the Paris massacre by calling for tolerance.
No, I read something else. She didn't say that, did she?
Calling for tolerance towards migrants and respect for the right of everyone to seek his fortune and live. As her policy of allowing hundreds of thousands of refugees came under fresh scrutiny. Quote, "We believe in the right of everyone to seek his fortune and live, to the respect for the other and tolerance. We know that our free life is stronger than any terrorist. Let's give the terrorists the answer by living out our values confidently.
Bye-bye, Germany.
And as we affirm these values throughout Europe, now more than ever."
You have to fight for freedom.
No.
Which they don't have. This whole thing of France having freedoms, they don't know what freedoms are.
Yeah, freedom's free sex, right? Free love, free food, free.
The liberal definition of freedom is so different from the real version of freedom. Freedom is having basic human rights and not having them infringed.
Well, and even Rush Limbaugh talks about freedom is not freedom from responsibility.
Right. You have to have a certain amount of responsibility. And that's the whole thing about having a large, powerful, oppressive, centralized government. It's done with the idea that the people who this entity rules over are not responsible enough to have their freedoms. Right. It's kind of like, I don't know, a 12-year-old child getting the keys to an automobile. They're not responsible enough, so we don't allow that.
Right.
So they may look at it like, oh, you're just suppressing my natural God-given rights to do what I want to do.
Right.
But
well,
no, you don't have the responsibility.
And at one point in time, my daughter, and we talked about this, said, you treat me like a slave.
Oh, I cannot believe.
And that's because her school sent them a book in kindergarten on slavery.
Oh, boy.
So my daughter, so if somebody stops me from doing what I want to do.
Yeah, that's the way they teach it.
I'm a slave.
Right. That's why.
They're teaching this in kindergarten.
Now, people, like the Black Lives Matters movement, they're not saying that they're slaves, but subconsciously they believe that. Because of the same reason that your daughter, who was only, 4 or 5 at the time?
5 at the time, yeah.
Yeah, thought that she was being treated like a slave.
I'm glad you brought that BLM, the BM movement.
Black Lives Matter.
BM movement.
BLM. What's BM?
Bowel movement.
Oh, bowel. Wow.
The BM movement.
Okay.
They are in talks with big Democrat financiers.
Like George Soros?
In the tunes of millions of dollars.
I saw that article you put up on the Facebook.
To
the interweb.
To help them spread the insanity and the hate. And people, I talked to a lot of people throughout the week, and they're like, Brian, why? You know, why does Obama do this? Why do these people do these things? Because the more chaos, the more unrest, the more control they have. They want the chaos. This is orchestrated chaos.
Yeah, it's from a book that was written by Bill Ayers, Rules for Radicals. This is all in there. There's an instruction book.
Noam Chomsky.
Noam Chomsky.
Rules for Radicals.
Was it Saul Alinsky?
Saul Alinsky.
Who did I say? Bill Ayers?
Ayers.
He's the terrorist. I forgot. He's the terrorist.
Bill Ayers, underground weather movement who bombed and killed and maimed people.
Yeah, he's the domestic terrorist.
Who funds
Saul Alinsky.
Who funds Hillary Clinton.
Right. Saul Alinsky is the author of Rules for Radicals, which is basically just an instruction booklet for how to cause chaos and then use it to your advantage.
Right. Published in 1971. Saul's 12 Rules for Radicals. There's a list of rules for radicals to go and do, and if you follow these things, you can create
gain
chaos
a lot of power
and wreak havoc. At the same time, the general populace is in dismay. Everything's disrupted in their life, and they're not happy, and things aren't working. You can actually take power during that time,
right? By offering up solutions to the very problems that you created,
right?
And that is the playbook of the entire left, the entire Democrat Party. The communists that are in it. In fact, the further left radical you are, the more they employ these things. So just FYI, if you don't know about it, you should buy it and read it just so that you know.
Rule number 1. Power is not only what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have.
Little teaser there for you.
Right. So, but, never let a crisis go to waste.
Right.
You see a crisis pop up, get a hold of that and run with it. And that's what Obama does.
Right.
I mean, that's what he's done with this so far. He comes out to talk about, he puts himself in the limelight to talk about France and, we're going to help. We'll do what we can. This is the attack on all humanity. In all of history and existence.
He's talking about standing with France and their fight for life and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sitting here thinking, you let plenty of people die through Planned Parenthood. He actually funds the death of millions and millions of people. So the whole thing is just silly.
So a friend of ours on Facebook, Kevin Allgood, he's got a lot of great articles he puts out there. He just posted a meme of Obama, and it says from page 261 of his book, Audacity of Hope, quote, "If the political winds should shift, I will side with the Muslims." I don't know what that
might be taken
mean.
out of context, maybe.
Maybe not. I don't know. I make no doubt. I no doubt in my mind who Obama is. There's no question.
Right.
But in Poland this week, before the attacks happened, they had 150,000 citizens took to the streets in Warsaw for nationalism against Islam, immigration, infiltration. Poland's designated European minister said, quote, "Warsaw could not take in refugees under the EU's quota after Friday's attack." So apparently the European Union is dictating to all the countries, this is the quota that you must take X amount of refugees in.
See, I didn't know that, and he's kind of spilling the beans there a little bit.
He's lifting the hand. So he's telling the EU, sorry, we can't take any more refugees whatsoever. Poland is next on the list for a major terrorist attack and a huge eruption by the people.
Yeah, but if they don't let the invaders in, it's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard. They're going to have to sneak in, and there's only going to be a certain amount that are going to be able to sneak in. But I don't know. Isn't it strange? Like I said, it was a blunder. This attack on France was a blunder.
You're saying they should have stayed underground.
They should have stayed acting like refugees.
Longer.
Really infiltrated and got to know the lay of the land, got to know the different entities and how it all operates.
Premature.
It was definitely a little bit too soon. How many people did it? 8? There's hundreds of thousands of people pouring over, and 8 of them jumped the gun. You know the rest of them are like, "Damn it!
You idiots!
Yes!
You idiots!
I guarantee you they're all saying that. Yep. I guarantee
you. Idiots! Why couldn't he say, well, we wanted to see those virgins?
Yeah.
We couldn't wait.
That's what it was.
We couldn't hold off.
We wanted them virgins, and we wanted to make sure that we were the ones to get them, and to hell with all you guys. So they get 129 dead and 350 wounded. Everybody, all the guys with the grand ideas in their head are just like, I can't believe this.
We just blew our...
We send hundreds of thousands of invaders into Europe, and they're there. They successfully reached their destination.
Right.
We had 8 people ruin the whole thing for us.
How does 8 people ruin an entire operation that has millions of people involved?
This is the reason why Osama bin Laden, not to be mistaken with President Barack Obama, why he did not want 10. They want, the original 9/11 tax was going to be 10 aircraft.
Yeah.
On the same day, all at the same time.
Yeah.
Bin Laden said, there's too much room for something going wrong. Let's scale it back down to 4. And so they went with 4.
Wow.
Yeah. It was going to be 10.
Wow.
In hindsight, now that we see the success of the attack,
10 would have been...
10 probably would have... Plausible. It's plausible.
If they did it, and at that time it would have been plausible because these guys got on these planes and took over.
If it took 20 to do, 5 per for 10, that would be 50 attackers, 50 to 60 attackers,
right?
Which means instead of 19 or 20 hijackers, you have 50. You have 30 additional people who could either end up being an informant and squealing.
Yeah.
They could squeal.
Or premature, jump on a plane too early.
Yeah, like maybe 3 weeks early. Be like, dude, let's just go, man. Screw them. Let's go.
We're not waiting for 911. We're doing it now. I know it's June. Who cares?
It's June, man. Let's go. Hey, I can get behind the stick. I can do this.
It's a height of travel season, man.
No, you know what it is? I'll tell you what it is.
Why are we talking like he's high?
Dude, what are you doing? Because they did get high. Bunch of junkies. For real. Okay, so some of them get the Twin Towers, and one plane gets the Capitol, which of course they screwed that up and went for the Pentagon.
Right.
So somebody else gets like Crew Tower.
What?
Well, there's going to be 10 of them.
What? Why didn't anybody go for the White House?
Well, I think that was one of the targets. Maybe not the primary, but it's so tiny. I mean, if you see it from the air.
Right.
I mean, last time I went to Washington, D.C., when you go up to the Washington Monument, which was one of the tallest structures there, I think it is the tallest. When you look around out of the Washington Monument, you could see all the major structures. You see the Lincoln Memorial, you see the Capitol and all this. Comparatively speaking, the White House is so tiny, you actually have to kind of be helped.
Right.
Somebody has to come over and you have to say, hey, can you point out where the White... I mean, now imagine if you're in a plane, which is much, much higher than Washington Monument. I imagine that flying around at 400 or 500 miles an hour in a plane, trying to spot the White House out of those tiny little windows of the aircraft has got to be exceedingly hard.
Yeah. No,
okay, going back to it. Crew Tower. Out of 10 aircraft, you're the guy who gets the Crew Tower. And you're like, man, I'm not even going to be remembered.
The Crew Tower. Wow.
Or Carew Tower.
Yeah.
C-A-R. So if you're the guy that gets Crew Tower, wouldn't you be tempted to say, to hell with them, let's go early and we'll go out of New York or Boston and we'll hit the World Trade Center prematurely. So that we get to be the ones that do the big dog. How did we end up with a stupid little Crew Tower?
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? I could see that happening. Especially since it is their belief that in the afterlife, not only do you get these 72 virgins, but you also have a wait staff. Like,
right.
And the staff that waits on you, your butlers, the people that shine your shoes,
right?
They are all the victims of your suicide attack.
Oh, okay.
That's what they believe. So if you blow up, let's say you blow yourself up and you only kill one person, that's your whole staff. You only got one in the afterlife.
Right.
But like the 3,000 that were killed on 9/11, they believe that those people are all serving the people in hell. Right.
Wow.
Because that is where they are.
Oh, I believe they are. Oh, wholeheartedly. There's no question
no
about that.
doubt about it.
Oh, my goodness.
No God would be welcoming them with open arms. I mean, how's that even possible?
Well, if they consider the devil their God, then
okay,
yeah,
I can see that. But then they're in hell. I mean, what do they rule over the afterworld from hell? I mean, what is this? I don't know. And is that the way you want to go?
You know, that's a really good question.
Is that how you want to spend eternity?
Well, but see, we think of it in a different way. They may think about it like, AC/DC song Highway to Hell. It's party time, excellent, rock on. So they might be thinking of it that way in a sense that it's good times. However, we all know it ain't no good times.
Right.
So,
we believe that if you end up in hell, that's the whole thing. We know that the hijackers on 9/11 were sold a bill of goods.
Right.
And they're finding it out the hard way once they get to hell. Because
Did
then
you
the
ever
devil's like, oh, well, you thought I was going to give you a position of leadership? Look at the fine print on the contract. Ha, 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 ha. So.
Break time's over.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you remember that joke?
No, what's...
The guy goes to hell, and he's standing there with the devil, and he opens up 3 different doors, and he's like, okay, you can pick whichever door you want out of these 3 doors to live for eternity. And so the first door...
Was this from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey?
I don't know, was it? Is that where I got it from?
3 doors, okay.
So the first door he looks into is no good, whatever. It's just really bad. I don't remember what it is. Second door, it's really bad. It's no good, no
it's even
good.
Worse.
Yeah. And the third door, he sees about a dozen people standing around in cow poop up to like their ankles or their knees, drinking coffee.
Okay.
And he's like, I mean, it kind of stinks pretty bad in there, but I could do that one.
Okay.
He's like, okay, there you go. Eternity. So he goes in the room and slams the door shut, lock.
A whole bunch of locks.
All the
yeah.
locks
Okay,
lock
yeah.
up. And she's like, "Where's my coffee?" And as soon as he grabs for his coffee cup, a bell rings. And he hears a voice. "All right, coffee break's over. Back on your heads."
Oh, no.
So that's
Wow.
Oh, you're 72 virgins? Dude, Google 72 virgins. You will see pictures of like 90-year-old toothless women.
Because they could be virgins.
Huge, giants, just mammoth people that just...
Who would have
It
think to Google 72 virgins?
Well, only because Muslims keep talking about 72 virgins. I'm like, what is it? What is their ideology of what a 72 virgins? Could you imagine if they were 72 strong-willed American women?
Well,
Like, dude, you done lost out, brah.
well, they could all be lesbians.
And then what? Because that's legal nowadays, by the way.
Well, yeah, but if
It's
you're
legal.
a guy, they won't even.
No,
be
it'd be no good. You've lost
They-
out double time.
Right, right.
Wow. So ISIS releases a video either yesterday or today. I think it was today. They released a video extorting all Muslims in France to kill the French in the streets by any means. This video that they put out there is recorded, and the guy is speaking in French, or it's recorded. There's English subtitles, speaking in French, and he says, "If you are sincere to Allah in your worship and your creed, and are unable to make Hira," I don't know what that is, "then operate within France. Terrorize them and do not allow them to sleep due to fear and horror. There are weapons and cars available and targets ready to be hit. Even poison is available. So poison the food and the water of at least one enemy of Allah. Kill them, spit in their faces, and run them over with your cars. Do whatever you're able to do in order to humiliate them, for they deserve only this." Allah Akbar!
Oh, jeez.
They dude, they went all out. And Salon.com.
Oh, my favorite. By the way, that was sarcasm.
Quote, "Our terrorism double standard. After Paris, let's stop blaming Muslims and take a hard look at ourselves."
What? That is the dumbest. See, it's one thing to be offensive. The thing about Salon is their ideology is extremely offensive. That's just dumb. That's not even offensive.
No, right. No, it's just, no, it's ignorant. It's ignorant. It's just completely ignorant.
Yeah.
So there's this guy on Bill Maher's show that I have become fascinated with, because his name's Dylan Ratigan, and he's a sustainability entrepreneur. So I guess maybe that's why I like him, because he seems like, well, one, he's got his head on straight, and he is an entrepreneur, so he's a businessman, a capitalist. But he seems to be on Bill Maher's show a lot. And Bill Maher puts the question to his panel. Jay Leno was on the panel.
Oh, he's kind of a conservative.
It wasn't funny. It wasn't good. It's just...
Was he attempting to be funny?
At one time, it just seemed like he was off his game. He was real rusty.
He's not totally, completely conservative. But
it looks like he just woke up.
Oh, really? Well, he's not on his game. He's been, like, kind of retired.
That's what I'm thinking. So this isn't a clip of him, but this is a clip of Bill Maher posing the question of what happened and why did it happen in France. And then Dylan gives his response.
When the Charlie Hebdo thing happened in the week after, everybody said, "Je suis Charlie." But not really. They didn't really stick with them like Usher and I were just talking about. I asked her if things would be different. I'm going to ask you this question that people asked after 9/11, because I don't think we still know the answer. Why do they hate us? I've stumped the panel again.
Why should they have an answer for why they hate
Because
us?
we finance the capital flow into Saudi Arabia that then arms the population that has power in Saudi Arabia to oppress the population that does not have power in Saudi Arabia, which then is deprived of basic resources in Saudi Arabia, which is then radicalized inside the Muslim religion, and then lashes out irrationally, violently, murderously against innocent people who did nothing.
I am
the
not
United
buying
States
that.
lack of internal account. We need to be accountable in our own government and our own relationship with Saudi Arabia.
That's not what terrorists say.
Well,
when you capture
the
one,
terrorists are
or when they leave a
irrational.
note, you know what they say? Because you're there. Because you're in Muslim lands. I have a crazy idea.
I've heard
Why don't we
that.
get out of Muslim lands?
You know what? I can't disagree with Bill Maher on that, but
Dude, we've got a lot of problems with our government and the connection with Saudi Arabia. And the connection with 9/11 has to do with Saudi Arabia.
Well, here's the problem I have. Let's just get down to the basic nuts and bolts of this.
Brass taxes.
Brass taxes.
What are brass taxes?
I don't know. What is that? Is there a tax on brass? So okay, I agree that their reasoning would be, well, you're on our lands and you shouldn't be on our lands, and you're desecrating our lands with your infidelity and all that kind of stuff to Allah and our religion and all that. I would argue, and I think there is an argument to be made, that they would always say, well, okay, they're not on our lands anymore, but they're out there and we need to go get them.
No, everybody is on their land in the whole world.
Yeah, because now there's an argument that they're making that as far as they can go, that will be their land.
They are to inherit. Allah says that they are to inherit the entire earth.
Okay.
And the Bible of Jesus Christ says that only the devil will inherit the earth.
Okay.
Now, I'm paraphrasing. That's not a direct quote.
Can you give me the chapter and verse?
Page 44,233 of the original Greek version.
The Hebrew version?
Hebrew Greek version, subparagraph 1943, Appendix A-6.
It's in the bibliography.
You gotta go in order to find this. You gotta go to the Dewey Decimal System.
Wow. Okay, so they say because you're on our lands. Well, here's what I say, and I'm sure that I'm going to be speaking for everybody who's afraid to say it, and I'm just going to say
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid.
You're on Earth. And you have that ideology and you're so serious about it that you are going to commit the kind of acts that we've seen in France, you don't deserve to be on any land on earth. And you need to be, even if we don't care about the land in the Middle East, we don't even care about the desert in America. Look at the population. If you've ever driven through the desert, you can clearly see nobody wants to be there.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So nobody in America is going to want to be in the deserts of Saudi Arabia or any part of the Fertile Crescent that's deserted.
No, right.
There's going to be oil there, whatever. We could buy the oil from whoever wants to pump it out of the ground or whatever. But the bottom line is as long as you believe that people should carry out terrorist attack like we saw in 9/11 and that we saw in France and the Charlie Hebdo and all that other stuff, and they have a population who universally will actually carry this out and not be afraid of the death that results from it.
That's insanity.
They are insane, and they do need to leave the earth. So, okay, goodbye, bye-bye. Have a nice day. We have to carpet bomb and possibly even nuke until they're all gone. We need to find them, root them out, round them up, and round them out. It's as simple as that.
You have to,
because
there is no other way about it.
Just be glad that they're that stupid that 8 of them had premature, whatever.
There's blood shooting out my eyes.
Premature,
blood shooting out my eyes and everywhere.
Squirting all over everybody's faces and all that stuff. I got Brian over here going nuts.
Where's the censor? Where's the
France is the symbol.
Okay.
That's gonna beep in there.
France is the symbol
of freedom.
Freedom. Right. No, you're absolutely right. I agree 100%.
So I feel like the modern day Hitler. We should round up all the Muslim, all several billion of them, and go ahead and exterminate them.
Well, what bothers me though is that this is becoming a piece of crisis for the left to then use and attack the right and say, well, it's your fault. You guys are invading their lands. You guys you're making them upset and you're not appeasing them. And there's a Dutch politician who came out and gave a speech.
They would have appeased Hitler. If we could transplant everybody, jump in a time machine, go back, whatever.
They did appease Hitler. They let him go. I mean, they let him go as far as he could go until we had to stop him.
Until it was too late.
I don't want to let ISIS get that far. If you let them go, dude, they've got no regard for human life whatsoever. No regard for their own children's lives, for their women's lives, for their own personal lives.
They gladly strap bombs on the children. They gladly do it.
So this Dutch politician named Michael, he's with the PVV party, and shocked the world with his recent address to the Dutch parliament in a time when prejudice against Islam is at an all-time high and millions of Muslim immigrants are flooding into the Western Europe. Unrest is at an all-time high in places like Greece, Germany, Sweden, and the Netherlands between migrants and natural-born citizens. In his address, the Dutch parliament, he gave some shocking statistics and made many points that people are having a difficult time denying the truths in. Michael's words were not only straightforward and direct, which is an oddity in itself for a politician, but much of it is hard to dispute even by people who support Islam. He said, without Islam, the Netherlands would be a wonderful country.
Wow, that is not like a politician to say.
Quote, we must close all mosques and ban Islam as a religion.
Wow, that is very politically incorrect, but I can't argue with it.
No, it's not possible. You can't argue with it.
But there are peaceful Muslims out there. I just don't know. Nobody.
Do you want me to play? I got that. I think you were looking at the notes. I got that queued up.
Which one?
Peaceful Muslims.
You mean the one?
Let me know when you're ready.
They're irrelevant.
Yeah, you let me know when you want that one.
That's an old soundbite too, but it's going to be relevant until this whole thing ends.
Right.
Which I don't know where it ends or when it ends, but the thing is I want to know why there's a separation. Why is it that there's Muslims that are so hell-bent on doing the whole jihad, the whole we got to kill infidels, we got to chop their heads off, we got to do terrorism, we got to kill ourselves in order to accomplish this. And then there's people that are like, I don't know why they're doing this.
I read an article about inbreeding in the Middle East.
Well, what's new? I mean,
they
would
said
explain a lot.
They said there were some mental defects, things like that.
Yeah, how else do you explain the 8 that prematurely attacked?
Couldn't tell time. Here's
you mean there was a larger attack, and they were like, dude, it was supposed to be next Friday, man.
Dude, they got good stuff here, bro.
At this concert.
Yeah, I don't. Let's do the concert. We're already here. We're high.
They were like, no, you're going to do the classical concert. No, come on.
Here's my take on that whole thing. I've met a lot of people from all over the world, all walks of life, and I find it most fascinating for those people who believe in superstitions. So much so that they will live their lives according to the superstitions. And they may even make up superstitions and pass those down to their children to make it look like they know. Because if you believe in a superstition, if you know in a superstition, and you can convince a child that the superstition is true, you now have power over that child. Superstitions are created by ignorance, the lack of education, the lack of knowledge, the lack of science, the lack of knowing the world around you.
So what superstition are we talking about exactly?
Just tons of them in general. I mean, certain ones from third world countries that I know people from. If a baby's hiccuping, take a cotton ball with rubbing alcohol and rub it on their forehead. It will go away.
Okay.
If a baby,
which I could imagine would not work,
Right.
but it's not exactly harmful either.
Right, and then superstitions would contradict each other. No, it's rub the cotton ball on their head. No, if they hiccup, they have a dirty diaper. I mean, dude, come on, that doesn't make any sense.
So should I change them or should I put alcohol in their head?
Right. Well, you better ask the person who's the grand wizard of the superstitions.
Whoa. Is this the KKK?
So I'm going to wrap all this. I'm going to come back around to the Muslims. There's a lot of ignorance in that culture and part of the world that's war-torn. I'm talking Syria. I'm talking, Iraq, Iran, all the Middle East. There's a lot of poverty and ignorance in the people that are in poverty. When you're poor and you're living in the desert and in the dirt, there's a lot of things you don't know and nobody's going to teach you anything. And the only thing that your parents or people you're looking up to that are teaching you is that if you want something, you got to go out and kill for it. Go kill that man if you want his donkey. You got to go kill him.
Well, and their education is what when they go to mosque and
they're educated by the imam who has an agenda and wants them to kill.
Right. That's right.
And where you're dealing with feeble minds that haven't grown. There's probably a lot of malnutrition there. So not even getting right types of foods. And then by the time you're a teenager, how many teenagers do you know that know everything?
Oh, they do. They all know everything.
When I was a teenager, I knew everything. And when I grew up, I forgot it all. But I knew it all.
Oh, yeah.
When I was 18, I knew everything. Somehow I've lost
Logically
it.
speaking, if you did know everything, and now that you're older, you know that you don't know everything, that means you definitely lost some knowledge.
Had to have been. Had to have been.
Right. That's just logic.
So when you have these young 20-year-old jihadists that have been groomed from childhood, and I promise you, they didn't sit there and say, okay, well, let's go over your math and your times tables. Let's go over your addition and subtraction. Did you read the history book yet? No. Did you load your AK-47 properly?
And quickly.
And it's got to be fast.
Right. And I'm sure that they are experts at that.
Right.
As we've seen in France.
So when you're raised with this level of ignorance and stupidity, you're going to do stupid, ignorant things that don't make any sense.
Did you hear about Rob Lowe?
No, I didn't.
He's getting a firestorm.
Really?
Yeah.
Backlash, eh?
Yeah, he started tweeting stuff about the France attacks.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and big backlash. So he wrote, "Oh, now France closes its borders?"
Oh, they didn't like him saying that, huh?
Yeah, you actually sounded like the French. You went, "Oh, ho, 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 ho."
That's funny because I was looking at that sound clip. I'm like, man, when can I play this again? I was looking at the...
Yeah, when he tweeted that, it actually has 4,000 retweets and 9,000 likes. And
did we like it?
I think I retweeted it and liked it.
Whoa!
But he's gotten a firestorm from the left about that tweet.
Do you think we'll get a firestorm for the title of our show tonight?
Probably.
Let's
I don't
hope
even
so.
remember what it was.
Something about laying dog down. You lay down with dogs, you're going to come up with fleas.
I don't think that was close to the title. I think it was something of that they made their bed and now they're going to lie in it.
Europe makes bed, France sleeps in it.
There you go.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Wow. So do you want to hear the clip from Bridget for all of our our new listeners?
The old clip that is timeless. It's a timeless clip. We'll be able to play this clip after terrorist attack. Yeah, it's universal.
She could have played this. If we take our time machine, go back, alternating, and we end up in Germany in 1944. We could play this to the people around in 1944.
That's right. Yep.
That is timeless. So, without further ado,
does it have the question in it?
Oh,
she
yeah.
answers a question.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I left it all.
Okay.
So, without any further ado.
Is that French?
Yeah, it is French.
Are you going to play it? Sometime today. This is sad. What? You don't have the clip.
My name is Saba Ahmed. I'm a law student at American University. I am here to ask you a simple question. I know that we portray Islam and all Muslims as bad, but there's 1.8 billion Muslim followers of Islam. We have 8 million plus Muslim Americans in this country, and I don't see them represented here. But my question is, how can we fight an ideological war with weapons? How can we ever end this war? The jihadist ideology that you talk about, it's an ideology. How can you ever win this thing if you don't address it ideologically?
Great question. I am so glad you're here, and I am so glad you brought that up because it gives us an opportunity to answer. What I find so amazing is since the beginning of this panel, which we are here about Benghazi attack against our people, not one person mentioned Muslims. We are here against Islam, or we're launching war against Muslims. We are here to discuss how 4 Americans died and what our government is doing. We were not here to bash Muslims. You were the one who brought up the issue about most Muslims, not us. And since you brought it up, allow me to elaborate with my answer. There are 1.2 billion Muslims in the world today. Of course, not all of them are radicals. The majority of them are peaceful people. The radicals are estimated to be between 15 to 25%, according to all intelligence services around the world. That leaves 75% of them peaceful people. But when you look at 15 to 25% of the world Muslim population, you're looking at 180 million to 300 million people dedicated to the destruction of Western civilization. That is as big of the United States. So why should we worry about the radicals, 15 to 25%? Because it is the radicals that kill. Because it is the radicals that behead and massacre. When you look throughout history, when you look at all the lessons of history, most Germans were peaceful. Yet the Nazis drove the agenda. And as a result, 60 million people died. Almost 14 million in concentration camps. 6 million were Jews. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Russia, most Russians were peaceful as well. Yet the Russians were able to kill 20 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at China, for example, most Chinese were peaceful as well. Yet the Chinese were able to kill 70 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Japan prior to World War II, most Japanese were peaceful as well. Yet Japan was able to butcher its way across Southeast Asia, killing 12 million people, mostly killed with bayonets and shovels. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. On September 11th in the United States, we had 2.3 million Arab Muslims living in the United States. It took 19 hijackers, 19 radicals to bring America down to its knees, destroy the World Trade Center, attack the Pentagon, and kill almost 3,000 Americans that day. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. So for all our powers of reasons and us talking about moderate and peaceful Muslims, I'm glad you're here. But where are the others speaking out? And since you're the only Muslim representative in here, you took the limelight instead of speaking about why our government, and I assume, are you an American? You're an American citizen. So as an American citizen, you sat in this room and instead of standing up and saying a question or asking something about our 4 Americans that died and what our government is doing to correct the problem, you stood there to make a point about peaceful, moderate Muslims. I wish you brought 10 with you to question about how we can hold our government responsible. It is time we take political correctness and throw it in the garbage where it belongs and start calling it a spade.
And start calling a spade a spade. That if that doesn't open your eyes to the reality that we face today in this new World War III. This is becoming a world war.
Oh yeah, this is definitely, a couple 100 years from now, 500 years from now, this is going to be, and I'm trying to figure out how it's going to, because you can't, in world history, you can't go through every detail of the leading up to like World War II or the Crusades or whatever big conflict happens in the world over the course of human history. What is this, and where are we in this? And I think we're at the very beginning stages of it. I think that when you read this in a history book 500 years from now, this will be like the first chapter where they talk a little bit about the several attacks by Muslims on American soil, such as the World Trade Center attack in 1993, and then you have some of the attacks on Americans by Islam throughout the world, like the USS Cole and the Beirut bombing, and then the hostages during the Olympics. Was it the 1970 Olympics? All that stuff will be one sentence. It'll be like boom, boom, boom.
Oh man!
It'll be like one sentence, and then it'll be like one of the first sentences, or maybe the first paragraph.
Right.
And then it'll go on into what it leads to, and why it leads to it. And I think that we're going to have something similar to the Crusades. I think it's going to be interesting because what'll happen, what you have right now is you have the aligning of a bunch of different countries. They're sovereign countries, but they're Islamic countries, and they're being taken over by ISIS. And they're going to all say, to hell with these borders. We're no longer Syria and Iraq and Iran and
state of
Egypt and Saudi Arabia.
Islamic State.
We're just going to be the Islamic State, kind of like it'll be like a new Ottoman Empire type thing.
Right.
And
the caliphate.
My dad,
the third caliphate.
Oh,
I think it's the third.
Know. My dad pointed out that there was a big difference between IS and what they're trying to do and what the Ottoman Empire was. Even though the Ottoman Empire was the Islamic state of its time,
right.
My dad points out that if you were Christian, you can live peacefully in the Ottoman Empire, and you will not be able to do that in the Islamic State. So I think that's kind of an interesting distinction, but very interesting because that's something that's going to cause World War III, because you have two things that are just not compatible. One is you cannot live anywhere in that area and not be beheaded if you're not Muslim, right?
You have to be of the Islamic State. You have to be.
You have to be Muslim. And the other thing that we're coupling onto this is that they want to expand into traditional non-Islamic areas and countries such as Germany and France, and I don't really know where the end is in sight. I think that countries like Pakistan would love nothing more than to overtake India.
Sure.
And that's why they're kind of in a Cold War of their own. They both are nuclear, and they're both kind of staring down the barrel of the gun, just like the USSR and the USA was during the Cold War, our Cold War. And I think that eventually it's going to be that axis of evil, which would be equivalent to your Austria, Germany, and all that during World War II, against the Allies, which would be all the non-Muslim countries.
I just ran across something.
Okay.
Jihad Watch.
Jihad Watch. Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
It's a good little site. Did the Muslim jihadists in Paris choose November 13th for its symbolic value in planning their attacks?
That's a good question. Nobody ever really brought it up.
Didn't realize it until just now. Over at Terror Trends Bulletin, a brief but weighty post conveys what to most of us is a forgotten historical footnote. The historical significance of November 13th in Islam. On November 13th, 1918, the Allied troops occupied Constantinople, the capital of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire was the caliphate, the Islamic state of its day.
Right.
So it goes on to say the occupation of Constantinople took place in accordance with the armistice treaty ending the Ottoman participation in World War I. The occupation had 2 stages. The initial occupation took place from the 13th of November, 1918 to 16th of March, 1920. And from 1619. So November 13th was the beginning of the occupation and the halt of the Ottoman Empire.
How has this not been reported?
Wow!
How has this not been reported?
Wow, because the reason why it's not being reported is because it's so relevant as to why these jihadists are so angry and what they're coming for. This proves that they're creating another Ottoman Empire. This is their goal.
But a worse one, because this one is fundamentalist, and they're just not going to tolerate non-believers.
Right.
And they're not going to tolerate any other law except for Sharia law.
Right.
It's going to be whatever the Quran says, and if you're not a Muslim, you're just going to get your head lopped off.
No, there's no question about it. And one last thing before I think we'll move on to the debates real quick. But one last thing, I've got Ted Cruz was on.
What did he say?
He was on Fox and Friends, and this is what he had to say about ISIS and if he was president and Obama.
Meanwhile, here in the United States, the reaction is just taking shape. Joining us now is presidential candidate Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. He is live from Greenville, South Carolina. Good morning, Senator Cruz. It's difficult to take obvious lessons away from a story that is still unfolding, as this one is, but to the extent that you can, tell us, what does this suggest about America's path forward in the fight against terror?
Well, first of all, I want to say we stand in solidarity with the people of France, with President Hollande, with the families of all of the victims of these acts of horrific terrorism. And the American people are standing as one. We are grieving with the nation of France today, and we are standing as your friend and ally. But secondly, these attacks underscore that we are facing an enemy who is fierce, who is relentless, who is at war with us, even if our own president doesn't understand that it is at war with us, and who will not stop until it is defeated. That enemy is radical Islamic terrorism. As long as we have a commander-in-chief unwilling even to utter the words radical Islamic terrorism, we will not have a concerted effort to defeat these radicals before they continue to murder more and more innocents, whether Europeans or Israelis or Americans.
So France's immigration policy is under scrutiny this morning. For 50 years, immigrants have moved from the Middle East into France. Some have been assimilated, many others have not, and it looks like some of them committed those acts of terror last night. At exactly the moment we're looking at France, the United States is beginning to accept refugees from the battlefields of Syria. Some just landed in New Orleans. What do you think of the administration's policy of paying for refugees from Syria to come here in large numbers? Should they be halted?
You know, President Obama and Hillary Clinton's idea that we should bring tens of thousands of Syrian Muslim refugees to America is nothing less than lunacy. If you look at the early waves of refugees that have flooded into Europe, one estimate was that 77% of those refugees were young men. That's a very odd demographic for a refugee wave. Yeah. The Director of National Intelligence here in America has said of those refugees in Europe, it is clear that a significant number of them may well be ISIS terrorists. It makes no sense whatsoever for us to be bringing in refugees who our intelligence cannot determine if they are terrorists here to kill us or not. Those who are fleeing persecution should be resettled in the Middle East and majority Muslim countries. Now, on the other hand, Christians who are being targeted for genocide, for persecution, Christians who are being beheaded or crucified, we should be providing safe haven to them. But President Obama refuses to do that, and all of this is a consequence of being unwilling to acknowledge. The president of the administration like to say this is violent extremism. It is not random, unconnected violent extremism. It is a particular form, radical Islamism, that takes the view that anyone that doesn't embrace their radical Islamic view must be murdered or forcibly converted. That's what we're seeing happening in Paris. That's what we're seeing happening in Israel. And I'm sorry to tell you, this will be coming to America. ISIS plans to bring these acts of terror to America. It's one of the reasons Congress needs to pass immediately the Expatriate Terrorist Act, legislation I've introduced that says that any American that travels abroad, that joins ISIS, that takes up arms and wages jihad against America, they immediately forfeit their citizenship, because we shouldn't be letting people use U.S. citizens and U.S. passports to come back to America and to wage jihad and murder innocent Americans, just like we saw these terrorists do yesterday in Paris.
Why are we using treason? Why can't we use the
Constitution? Laws on the books.
It's the only law that you can use against the citizens that's written in the Constitution.
Breaking news. You want some breaking news?
Well, I was going to comment on this.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So, did he misspeak? I hope he misspoke, because I cannot believe
He kept saying Muslim extremists. Like, he kept saying that radical extremist, radical Muslim.
Well,
they're just Muslim. They're just
Muslims. Well, I mean, they're. I think he wants to draw a distinction as who was it that you had our last soundbite? That woman,
Bridget. Yeah, Bridget.
She makes the distinction between the radical Islamic terrorists and the peaceful Muslims. She does make they're just irrelevant.
Right.
And so by him saying that, I think is fair.
Okay.
But so anyway, is it true? I think he misspoke. He has to have misspoke. By allowing Syrian refugees into America, that means that anybody who's seeking asylum from Syria could get it.
Yes.
Okay. So he's not necessarily saying no if you're a Christian.
Correct.
Okay, because he did say he's not allowing Christian refugees.
No. He said he to bring Christian refugees over.
I thought he said he's not allowing Christian refugees.
I think he
That's got to be
on
a
that.
misspell.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Because he turned the corner and said, if we're so concerned about these Muslim Syrian refugees that are killing people, what about the Christians that are being beheaded and killed and crucified?
Okay.
Let's bring them to America.
And them only, right. I could totally see that. That's just... It's just messed up. It's unbelievable. We've been saying and warning and worried about the Trojan horse. It's been confirmed. Why can't we immediately say, oops, about that whole letting all the invaders into America? Not letting them, bringing them, spending money to have them come and invade us. We are the transportation for the invading force. Could you imagine Hitler sending over all the boats and planes required to storm the beaches of Normandy?
Huh? Yeah, right. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, what if Hitler sent a bunch of cargo ships or troop ships to America to bring over the troops that were going to storm the beaches of Normandy?
However, if you are a Muslim leader and you believe in the third caliphate, you believe in Allah, and you believe in taking over all of the world, how do you get to America? How do you get to the new world? Because the Bering Strait is melted because of global warming. It's not there anymore.
Oh, yeah, it would have been there if it wasn't for all this.
How do you get them here? Here's how you get them here. You infiltrate the American government and you install falsely a president.
Oh.
And you get him to do everything possible to get the troops there.
Oh, my gosh. So it's not Hitler. It would be some other... It would be an American. It would be an American president of Germany elected in order to send the boats to America to pick the troops up to storm the beaches of Normandy.
Yeah, it's a double secret double. It's a double. It's a spy.
So we've already lost. They're just now going to come over to take over. It's not a fight.
No,
it's already over.
Right.
We lost it in 2008.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
So here I'm going to put
criminality.
Everybody, get your tinfoil hats on. So, what the communists / Muslims did, they first made sure that, and believe me, this was on backdoor stuff, make sure that the most unelectable candidate was the winner of the primary for the Republican Party, which had been McCain.
Right.
And then, so he's going to lose. And then, just to make sure, we're going to go ahead and have a bunch of fake votes by Mickey Mouse and Adolf Hitler and all that stuff.
Right.
Once he's installed into the leadership of America, we then have him institute the executive orders and the policies required to get the rest of the Muslims over here in order to take over the government.
Right.
Or take over the entire country.
Right.
Okay. So he's just trying to prevent the uprising to stop it now. Because he's only bringing over Syrians, first of all, little bits at a time. Right?
Yes.
And he can't just flood it quickly because there'll be such there'll be an uprising of the citizenry of outrage.
Correct.
And he's probably mad about the attack on France by the premature 8, right?
Right.
He's got to be mad about that because now the cat's out of the bag. The Trojan horse has been confirmed, and now everybody's mad.
He's like, dudes, man,
I didn't even get all the Syrians here.
Right. They're not all here yet. Yes, but it was the 13th of November.
Right.
You know the 13th of November.
No. 2016, bro.
Huh?
Not 2015. Oh, read your calendar.
Calendar. Oh, you want me to follow that Christian timeline?
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Christian's timeline.
Right.
Wow. So, breaking news. Let me get this stupid Yahoo. I am done with
Wait,
Yahoo.
we still have our tinfoil hats on, right? Here's our segue.
Oh, sorry.
So all this entire attack was orchestrated by the Democratic Party of America.
Correct.
Democrat Party.
Correct.
Of America.
Correct.
In order to take any kind of attention off of the abomination that was conducted over the weekend called the Democratic debates.
Okay, hold on. I'm not segueing there.
You didn't segue there?
No.
Oh, we're still got the tinfoil hat on?
The breaking news coming out of the AP, France launches massive airstrikes on Islamic State group, capital of Syria, Sunday night, destroying a jihad training camp and munitions dump in the city of Raqqa.
What's that going to do?
Where Iraqi intelligence officials say the attacks on Paris were planned. 12 aircraft, including 10 fighter jets, dropped a total of 20 bombs. Well, it ain't that much.
That's terrible.
In the biggest airstrike since France extended its bombing campaign against the extremist group in Syria in September. They dropped 20 bombs.
What an underwhelming response.
Wah, wah.
Dude.
I thought I had something special with the breaking news. That you know what that is that's a French response.
They should have drove their tanks all the way in there and then put it in reverse and jammed on the gas pedal
and drove back out.
Drove out.
Hey, we were there.
We showed you guys.
We showed you.
You didn't do nothing to us.
No,
so anyway.
Whoa. Okay, so
to the debates.
Yep, it took off the heat that was. I don't have much on this. The Democrat debates.
What about the Republican debate?
I do have a bit. I've got the
basically. Here's what you need to know about the Democrat debate. Hillary is supposed to win.
Right.
The communists are like, guys, I know you want Hillary in there, but we really want our communists in there. And we're going to fight for it. And Bernie Sanders burned her a few times, and the media is probably going to cover for Clinton. In fact, that's the reason why they launched the attack
on France. Right. Is coordinated media attack.
Because Bernie Sanders made a couple burns, and they needed to hide that.
And here's that soundbite of Bernie Sanders going rogue.
Okay.
He went off the playbook.
Oh, okay.
No, in all due respect to the Secretary, Wall Street play by the rules. Who are we kidding? The business model of Wall Street is fraud. That's what it is. And we have one of the problems we have had, I think all Americans understand this, is whether it's Republican administrations or Democratic administrations. We have seen Wall Street and Goldman Sachs dominate administrations. Here's my promise. Wall Street representatives will not be in my cabinet.
So apparently,
if he's worried, or if his main argument is that Wall Street runs the country because of their contributions to the leaders, he's practically endorsing Donald Trump.
Right.
Because he's not taking any money from anybody.
Right.
Unless he tries to segue that and twist
he was saying that Hillary was in
we
with
know
Wall
that.
Street.
She's, of course.
But how do you start up with all due respect
to who?
Go boot yourself. Well, I did say with all due respect.
I'm allowed to say anything.
Anything I want after that.
That's once I hit the disclaimer, the gloves are off.
Hey, I'm not gay, but
right.
Whoa.
So he was pretty much saying, I'm going to disrespect you here.
With all due respect to the secretary, I'm about ready to disrespect you.
Right.
Whew. So that was...
he may try to spin the whole Wall Street thing by saying, and believe me, this will work too, because low information voters are really stupid. He could say, look at him. He works in Wall Street. He's the guy. He's in Manhattan. He's right there.
Right.
He owns it all.
Right.
You don't want this big wig, fat cat, Wall Street guy as president?
Right.
That's what he's going to say.
Sure.
But in reality, if you have any brains, what he's really saying is that the people, the tycoons, the powerful people in Wall Street that are actually... See, Donald Trump, he's not a trader. He's a real estate guy.
Oh, yeah, he's not a Wall Street guy.
He's not a Wall Street guy.
No,
he's
not
a real estate guy.
I mean, he's got investments, obviously. Oh,
he hires Wall Street guys.
He said in an interview this past week, he has $300 million?
Huh?
300. No, that'd be too much.
Oh, in cash.
How much cash did he say he had?
It was like 500 million or something like that. It was a lot. Like $500 million in cash.
$300 million in cash.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
He said, I've got that in cash.
Yeah.
And they're questioning, what do you mean cash?
Like duffel bags?
He's like, well, in banks. Strong banks.
Good banks. The best banks. The very best banks.
So which banks are those? I'm not going to disclose that because they don't need to eat. He was prying.
People will be picketing.
Right.
So anyway, because that's what they'll do. So, so he's not a Wall Street guy, so it's going to be hard for him. It won't be hard, but he'll just say it. That's what Democrats do.
Right.
They say a lie because they want you to believe that, and then they let everybody scramble to try to inform you that it was a lie. And even when you do find out it's a lie, you're like, well, he kind of misspoke and he didn't know anything, whatever. And it's explained away. But anyway, that's going to be how he's going to have to do that, because Donald Trump is not a Wall Street guy. And to me, if you're going to make the argument that Wall Street tycoons own the government because they buy the politicians by financing their entire campaigns and their super PACs, then you're endorsing Trump.
Right. Well, check this out. And I know we've been talking on and off about Glenn Beck and his delusional spiral downhill.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
Him and his crew the other day this week were talking about Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders.
Okay.
And if you read between the lines, like I read the transcript, he didn't say that I saw. I didn't see the whole transcript. I just saw bits and pieces of it. It's possible he said word for word.
Edited transcript.
I got edited.
How is that even possible?
Well, it was hieroglyphics.
They had blacked out lines like they do on the CIA document.
It came directly from Hillary Clinton's
redacted.
email.
It was all redacted.
It was Hillary Clinton's email address. No, I mean, earlier in the show, he could have said it. I only saw the segment that they were talking about. So, I did not see where he said, I would endorse Bernie Sanders over Trump. However, all his talk about this, he said, I respect Bernie Sanders.
Oh, I may have actually seen that or heard that
I
episode.
respect him because he tells me who he is.
He's honest.
He's honest.
He's telling us. what
Unlike
he's doing.
Trump. We start bashing Trump again.
I'm waiting for Bernie
and he
to
literally in a roundabout way, the whole crew agreed that Bernie Sanders is better than Trump. That is an endorsement for Bernie Sanders.
What an idiot. I mean, at some point you have to put the e-brake on and avoid the bridge abutment. Because if it comes down to Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump, which, by the way, that's a crazy, crazy presidential election. But it is absolutely
If that's
realistic.
not a landslide on the right side, I
it
would
won't
lose
be.
my...
We are infiltrated by the communists.
It is nuts. It is nuts, especially. I'm not going to go off that rail, but all these things in the college campuses and the revolts and the kids, they're revolting against the establishment again, and Obama funding the revolts and the hate on the racism, black students, the whites are racist.
Have you seen the? I guess it's the Black Lives Movement doing the chants and the picketing in the campus libraries during school.
They're allowed?
Did you see that?
They're allowed to.
It's so annoying. There were a couple of students that I saw throwing their hands up, and it was so loud you couldn't hear what anybody else was trying to say. Just chanting as loud as they possibly could without any break.
I'd start throwing books at them.
Guys threw up their arms, and you could hear you could read their lips saying, "Why? Why are you doing this? What are you doing? Why are you doing this?"
It's an orchestrated filming event.
That's what it is.
It's exactly what it is. So
get this on camera. Get this on cell phone.
Right. So
Periscope this right now.
Periscope it now. So that's about. I mean, other than that, on the Democrat debate, no, and it was just the Paris attacks were covered.
Even Yahoo.com, they had. You know how they have their main articles? There's like 50 of them, and you can scroll through them.
Yeah.
Well, underneath that scroll with the actual photos, there's the and also articles.
Okay.
In the and also articles, there was Bernie Sanders burns Clinton in debate. And then I clicked on it and I read about it. It was a light burn, but it's interesting.
Well, on Breitbart this week, probably right after the debate, there was an article that said Hillary already has the votes to win the nomination.
Well, they wish that the nomination was today because...
And that's... And then the subtitle to that was corruption bought and paid for by Hillary. So apparently something's going on in the Democrat Party, in the convention, the DNC, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who runs the DNC, the president chairman of DNC. Apparently something is going on in the back room to where the fix is in. The fix is in.
Well, we've thought that for a long time. I mean, even...
they're writing articles about she's not in prison. She's not wearing a jumpsuit. She's not paying for everything she's ever done. Nobody can give...
Bernie Sanders?
No, that talk show guy I don't listen to anymore.
Where's it from?
Football.
Oh, Hannity?
Yeah. Everybody calling Hannity. Nobody can give him one. Give me three things he's done. Okay, back it down. One.
Oh, yeah.
Give me one.
There was one guy on there that was able to point out, I think, at least one, and he was really close to doing the second one. And I'm shocked. Until you throw in the towel and say, all right, I'm done, I can't do anymore, he will let you talk. He'd let this guy try to conjure up three things that she's done for like 10 minutes.
Go to her website and you'll see a list of all of her accomplishments.
That's right, and they're all... I actually read them. They're not accomplishments.
Yeah. She fought for women's rights, to have rights.
Okay, but what rights?
She ended women's suffrage.
When you say I fought for women's rights, that's not an accomplishment. That would be like me saying I applied to the job. I applied to get hired at UC or at GE.
Right.
I applied. That was my accomplishment. I applied.
Well, you in this day
Did you
and
get
age,
hired? Well, I applied.
I applied myself to apply.
I gave 110% of myself to that job
and that application
to
and the applying of the job.
Right.
I was relentless.
I didn't stop to this day.
I'm not stopping.
To this day.
I'm still doing it.
Right.
Well, I mean, if I got hired, well, then that would be different. But you see, I'm in the fight.
I'm in the fight.
The good fight.
I'm fighting for a job.
Right.
I'm picketing out there. Hire us.
Oh yeah. So apparently she's ended women's suffrages.
Suffrages.
So women no longer suffrage.
Suffrage. What kind of grammatical errors?
No, that's on her website. No more suffrages.
No. Are you?
You know what's funny is that there's an inkling in your mind
that it might be true.
Oh, yes.
There's some grammatical errors. It's possible. It's not outside.
That is so sad. That she is so awful.
That was believable.
Yes.
I could see that.
Oh man!
But she does. I read through her list of accomplishments,
the litany,
and it was a whole bunch of stuff that she planned on doing,
right,
or were that on the surface may sound like an accomplishment, like I fight for women's rights,
right?
Which, like I said, that's like applying for a job. That's not an accomplishment. But then when you say, this is what I plan on doing for you when I'm president, that's not an accomplishment. That's a promise.
Right.
She was listing promises as accomplishments.
Okay, here they are. I pulled up the old show. Here they are.
Oh, boy.
Hillary Clinton's website, 7 of Clinton's biggest accomplishments. That's the title on the page. A, fought for children and families for 40 years and counting.
And she still isn't hired. Seriously. She's still trying to get hired.
But she's still not the president. She's still trying to get hired.
Okay, all right.
Helped provide millions of children with health care.
Did she? Did she accomplish that? Is she talking about Obamacare?
I don't know.
If she's talking about Obamacare, then she didn't accomplish that.
Right. Helped get 9/11 first responders the health care they needed.
Did she? I need more details. Tell me how you did that. How did you... What is he talking about?
Told the world women's rights are human rights.
That's an accomplishment?
She told the world.
Did she get on... Like, how did she do that?
Did
you get in front of a microphone?
No, she got Al Sharpton's
microphone. Oh, the megaphone.
They got Al Sharpton's megaphone.
I'm so jealous of the Glenn Beck show because they got a guy that does a great impersonation, and he has the microphone or the megaphone.
Stood up for LGBT rights at home and abroad. LGBTQQIAAP.
But what did she do to stand up for the rights? Did she just stand up?
At home, she stood up, and abroad, she stood up. And they say abroad, I think that's
was
one
she
word.
Sitting down before?
I don't think that means a broad. I think abroad.
Did they separate it?
No. No, I don't.
Where does that word come from anyway? Broad, as referring to a girl.
A broad scope. Oh, I hate that broad.
Yeah, but what?
I don't know.
There's got to be a source.
So, LGBTQQIAAP, transsexual, queer, questioning, intersexual, asexual, ally, and pansexual.
You trying to say that in one breath?
And I skipped the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered. So, helped expand health care and family leave for families.
She did?
1, 2, 3.
Wait, she helped somebody else accomplish
4.
something.
So
she helped somebody else accomplish something.
So the top...
How do you list that as one of your accomplishments?
So the top 6 have to do with health care.
And none of which I saw any evidence of.
Out of the top 6, 4 have to do with health care.
And out of the 4... all 4 of them are kind of subjective. I mean, what is it you say that you do around here? We need that soundbite from Office Space. Let's get that.
Negotiated a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas.
Is there a ceasefire there? Have we talked about this?
Yes, we
Oh,
did.
this is an old
breaking
show.
news. There is no ceasefire.
So that's
There's
fail.
no agreement.
She listed as one of her
fail.
a fail as one of her accomplishments.
Yep.
That's like a kid saying that he did a backflip on the beach in front of some girls, and that's his accomplishment. Go to the video, landed on his neck.
Oh, you weren't supposed to see that. I thought that was scrubbed.
Oh,
wasn't that scrubbed from the
You're
email
supposed
server?
to edit right before you hit.
Oh man, that was supposed to be
That
scrubbed.
was on the email server. All right. So what's the next one?
All
Is that all 7 of them?
Yeah.
And by the way,
fought for children, helped provide millions for children health. The top 2 fought for children and families for 40 years and counting. Second one, helped provide millions of children with health care.
What about the children?
What about the children? Oh my! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 is negotiated ceasefire. Yeah,
which is a fail.
I fail. 7 reasons the world's leaders think Hillary was one of the all-time greats as Secretary of State. She restored America's reputation in the world. That's number 1.
I would say that is a huge fail.
Epic
fail. I would use the word epic. I think the word epic is appropriate for this particular thing. And by the way, I want to give Hannity a little bit of credit here. Every time somebody brings up something that she did for women, which you did in the list, right?
Right.
The women's healthcare, women's suffrage, or whatever, right?
All kinds of suffrage.
All kinds of women
suffering all everywhere.
He blasts them right out of the sky by pointing out that she's responsible for the bimbo eruptions,
right,
and the suppression of those women who accused her husband of rape, and not only suppressed but actively attacked them and destroyed them.
I think we missed something here.
What?
All these women's accomplishments are projection.
All of them are projection?
Well, she's
all of them?
No, not all of it. She's because she knows that she's destroyed so many women that she's overcompensating by saying, no, I've done so much for the women.
Or at least I plan on it.
Right.
Or I fought for it.
So the second thing...
Or I applied for that job.
Second thing, the world leaders think she's the greatest Secretary of State. Second, she championed the rights of women and girls around the world.
That's going to be busted because of the bimbo eruptions.
Right.
You know, it was Rush Limbaugh. He pointed out that these young millennials were not even born or old enough to know anything about what happened during that Monica Lewinsky
It's
scandal.
shocking to me that this 18-year-old kid that I ran into, that he thought he knew the Clintons.
Well, I'm
like, dude, you don't know the Clintons.
In this new PC world with the war on men and just that they're predators, they're mean, and when they find out what she did to defend him, she is toast. Because we live in a brave new world where that kind of stuff is going to be intolerable to the electorate.
Right.
Well, at least for the Democrat side, anyway.
Negotiated toughest sanctions Iran has ever faced.
That was an epic fail. That's going to go down in history as worse than the Treaty of Versailles, worse than...
Why would you put this on your website? And I'm sure the website's gone. So, folks, if you want the transcript, go back to... it was 4 shows ago. Go back to 4 shows ago, and you can feel that one out. We've got it all there. Negotiated ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. So I looked up the times to where she was Secretary of State. And during the time she was Secretary of State, there was no ceasefire between Israel and Hamas.
I don't think there ever was. So no, it's not just a fail. It's a lie.
Right.
Well, there you go.
Stood up for LGBT rights.
Isn't she the one that said that she's for the sanctity and definition of marriage?
That was back in the day. She's evolved.
She's evolved.
She's molting.
She's molting.
She's shedding her skin. She's shedding her skin.
Like a snake.
Like a snake, just molting. She reinvigorated American diplomacy with Asia.
I think Nixon did that.
Where's Asia?
Oh,
the country.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a fail.
It's the country of Asia.
Yeah, there is no country of Asia. I was thinking of China when you said that because I failed too. Well, but Nixon was the one that was the first president to go to China.
If you ever say that you've reinvigorated American diplomacy around the world or in all of the Asian continent or on the Asia, like why would you say the Asia? Like there's only really one thing in Asia. That's China.
Well, there's a whole bunch of other countries.
They don't matter.
Japan is like, what are you talking about?
I'm just saying. I mean, are you talking about China? Are you talking about Japan? Are you talking about all of them? With Asia. Diplomacy with Asia. With Asia. The wording. Okay, maybe I'm being too... And then lastly... She took on global HIV/AIDS pandemic.
She did?
Oh yeah, it's cured. There is no AIDS anymore.
Well, we know that it is
cured. It's cured.
It's cured. She did that?
Yeah,
dude. That's like I invented the internet thing. Al Gore.
Yes. It's time to push back against the forces of quarterly capitalism and boom and bust cycles on Wall Street.
That sounds like something Bernie.
That was her last on her website. That's the long-term growth.
Is she trying to suck some of Bernie Sanders supporters over to her side?
Oh, Bernie came out this week and was pissed.
He's always pissed.
People voting for me are not rejecting Hillary. I'm not kidding. I'm not getting Hillary votes. Like somebody said that people who wanted to vote for Hillary and are mad at her, you're just sucking her votes away. And he
that's
got
the point
mad.
of a primary.
But he got mad. He's like, no, they're all die hard and they drink my Kool-Aid.
Okay, that's true. But I would have also said, we're in a primary. That's the point. The whole point is...
He didn't like that answer, though.
Whatever.
So the Republican debate.
That happened too, huh?
Earlier
in the week.
Yep, there's a woman by the name of Ruth Sherlock. She's an analyst, a reporter. She works for the Daily Telegraph. And she did a little montage, if you will, a little synopsis of the Republican debate as Donald Trump and Jeb Bush clash over Trump's pledge to deport 11 million immigrants. And
we talked in an earlier episode that some form of amnesty will be required. And I'm sure there's a lot of listeners to our show are going to be like, oh, I am never going to listen to you guys again. But we proved it with a little thought experiment. Remember that? That if you believe that if you came here illegally or you should be deported, and you believe that the 14th Amendment does not provide anchor babies with citizenship, then at some point you're going to have to figure out where the amnesty begins. It's not there. Right. You can draw a line,
right?
But somebody's going to be on the other side of that line. Right. What if you have two illegal immigrants that came over a long time ago?
Say 50 years ago, and they're 70 now.
They got married. Their baby would be considered an anchor baby.
They got 19 kids.
Okay, let's just say.
With 70 grandchildren.
Okay, so the children formerly would be considered citizens due to the anchor baby status.
Right.
If you then come back and say, well, anchor babies are no longer citizens, what about their grandchildren? Now you're several generations in.
Right.
Now you have children born of parents who think their entire lives they were citizens.
And they may even dedicate themselves to this country and served in the military.
Right. And they have children.
Die-hard
they have
American
children
flag.
that aren't even anchor babies.
Right. They've got an American flag and a Confederate flag in the front yard.
They're driving around in the General Lee.
Right. And they're making moonshine in the backyard. Living in Kentucky. Whoa.
Making tequila in the woods.
What? Oh, in Southern California. Drinking SoCal.
Okay.
Okay, so here's all you need. 1 minute and 48 seconds is all you need to know for the entire debate based on
We're
Ruth.
going to summarize the whole entire debate.
Based on Ruth from the Daily Telegraph.
We will have a wall. The wall will be built. The wall will be successful. And if you think walls don't work, all you have to do is ask Israel.
For the 11 million people, come on, folks. We all know you can't pick them up and ship them back across the border. It's a silly argument.
If anybody won this debate, they did
That's
so by
rude.
default. There were some good moments on immigration and on the question over what to do over Syria, but overall the debate was pretty long and pretty slow. Marco Rubio won't have been harmed in the debate, and Jeb Bush may have just scraped through. If he had completely imploded tonight, his campaign would probably have been over.
It's over!
However, he just about survived, although there were still some Jeb Bush moments. At one point he was due to speak, and the Ohio Governor John Kasich interrupted, and instead of fighting back, Bush just whimpered away, and Donald Trump had to intervene and said, "Let Jeb speak," which was very, very embarrassing for the Florida governor.
First of all,
here it is.
Governor, you should let Jeb speak.
We have grown.
No, it's unfair.
In the state of Ohio.
Governor.
He trumped out.
In the state of Ohio.
Mr. Trump, you yourself said let Governor Bush speak. Governor Bush.
Thank you, Donald, for allowing me to speak at the debate. That's really nice of you. Really appreciate that. What a generous man you are.
Oh, that is so sad.
Thank you for letting me speak at the debate tonight. What a generous man you are. Dude, does it hold true what we said a while ago, that he's beholden to the GOP?
Are we talking about Jeb?
Jeb. And he has to. They said, you owe us. You owe us.
Yeah, I feel like he is really stuck. He knows he's stuck. He has no way out.
Not even close.
There's so much money and so many people counting on him.
So did you hear? I know we talked about this earlier, but I got this thing about Rush. Rush just broke news.
I hadn't heard that?
No, I didn't hear it.
Holy smokes.
Really? What is it? Come on.
It's Philip Rucker and Robert Costa.
Okay.
Costa used to work at National Review. Time for GOP panic. Establishment worried Carson or Trump might win.
Oh, jeez.
They really thought Trump would be gone by now.
Yeah, they did.
What does this say? You know, you got Rubio, you have Cruz, you have Christie, you have Fiorina, you have...
Here's the thing about it. Kasich.
Huckabee.
Oh, Huckabee.
I think he's
You have Kasich.
There we go.
To hell with philosophy.
Yeah, did you hear about
And
that?
you've got Jindal. You got Santorum. None of them are any... You got Scott Walker. You go back to Scott Walker. You got Rick Perry. You got Pataki. Well, yeah, you got Gilmore. You got all these people that are still in the race. And what do? You want to go back and get somebody who's already lost?
Oh, talking about Mitt Romney.
You want to go back? The establishment wants to go back and get Romney?
Yes!
Yeah, they apparently... So for those of you that don't know, and we're running out of time here, but the GOP, right before all this went down, right before this, there was a Trump meltdown, is what they're calling it. Tirade. They're all calling it a tirade. Did you hear about that?
No.
You didn't hear about the Trump tirade?
No.
He went off on Carson and all them and blew up on him in a campaign stop. And,
oh, wow.
But they're saying that, oh, this is the end for him. This is going to be the end of Trump. He's crossed the line. He's gone too far.
Whatever.
It's not gonna.
Well, they're saying that on purpose, hoping. Let's project.
Oh, yeah.
Just hope and change.
They're trying to make their own news. Is what they're trying to do.
Well, they created the crisis and they created the economy collapse.
But here's the problem. Right before that happened, the RNC tapped Mitt Romney and told him to get dressed, get your gear on,
Get suited up.
Get suited up.
Dude, the meme going around right now is Mitt Romney head on Rocky Balboa with his robe on, his golden robe and his red gloves coming into the ring.
Oh, yeah, they said suit up. I think it's more like Rudy from the movie Rudy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like, Rudy, you're in. But then again, Mitt Romney had his big chance already.
He's like, I had my.
No, you're right. It's more like Rocky. It's like coming from, like he's too old. It's over. I mean, he's not too old, but you know what I mean.
Right.
He's used.
He's
damaged goods.
Reagan lost his first time around, but won the second time. If you lose more than once, I think that's it. I think you're done.
But
if you lose like 2 or 3 times,
is he heeding the call? Is he going to run? Is he going to go? What are we doing here?
I don't know. If he owes them, then he.
Well, they're trying to put him back in mothballs now because they think that now finally that Trump has gone too far. I think I'm going to make a wild prediction here and say that it's not going to affect Trump.
All right. Wow, this is the fastest 3 hours on Sunday night that I've ever spent in my entire life. Listen long, listen hard, listen every day.
Hard. Get extreme.
Oh, Ronda Rousey lost.
Oh, by who?
She lost, and the fix was in. Everything's falling apart. She voted for Bernie Sanders. Bernie said she didn't lose because of me. She lose because of global warming.
No!
It's unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.